Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
It's a blessing to be in this position, and we're just thankful to be here. We're thankful for the opportunity to go out there and play in front of the 12 man.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Welcome in, my friend. How are you, Olin Buchanan?
I'm doing good, David Nuño. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I want to start things off. Look, schedule talk is a little boring.
Okay.
But we did get some information on start times of windows. Okay, so I thought we could just maybe chit-chat a little bit about that, if you don't mind. Let's chit-chat. So I'll give you some game times of these games, just so we can kind of get a sense for how we're going to spend our weekends.
Yeah.
All right? We're going to open up, we as an A&M, I represent the community. Hi, guys. Against UTSA at Kyle Field. It's going to be a 6 p.m. start on ESPN.
Okay, 6 p.m. All right.
August 30th, by the way.
I'll be doing the pregame show at 3. All right.
Then September the 6th, Utah State. That's going to be an earlier kickoff on the SEC
Yeah, I
network.
like those.
Yeah, 11:45.
Yeah, I'm all for them.
I love the early.
Get them done early. Still have Saturday night.
We have discussed this before, but when I was a college student, I didn't like the 11 a.m. games because
You're still hungover.
I was still hungover. Absolutely. I wanted to sleep in for a little bit. Now that I'm an old man that wakes up at 4:45, I feel it's midday. Let's go. Like this, my day is almost over. All right. September the 13th, Peacock Network, NBC.
The Fighting Irish.
6:30 p.m.
Okay, so that means we're leaving Chicago at what time?
We need to book that. It needs to happen like yesterday.
Yeah, we've waited so long that we may be.
We're going to stay in Fort Wayne.
Yeah, we may be. Yeah, we've fumbling on that one.
September 20th. What time do you think that game is?
September 20th.
It's an open week. They have no game.
Okay.
So we get to enjoy the rest of college football.
Oh, I guess I'll be going down to Padre that weekend.
September the 27th, they will host Auburn. Afternoon delight.
Hopefully we won't be burned again.
Gosh, please no.
Afternoon, so a 2:30 game?
It's an afternoon game is what it says, yeah.
Okay.
So then October the 4th, Mississippi State. It's going to be a night game.
Okay.
Yeah.
You typically are with Mississippi State.
Yep.
When they're here.
This sheet here doesn't have the actual time. I thought I saw it as a 6:30 game.
6 or 6:30.
Luke, if you want to fact check the time on that game, I thought I saw the actual time for that one, but it says night here on this sheet. October the 11th, Florida.
Oh, that sounds like a night game.
Flex.
Okay. Well,
I love the. What's that? Just says night. Okay. Show the flex for the people can see. Look at that. This dude is just jacked Buchanan.
So I need to get in the gym. I haven't been in a while.
I mean, do you brush your teeth daily?
You know what? I hurt my shoulder washing my back this morning. That's how when you're that old.
Do you have like a little?
Yeah, I had the
little stick
back.
there?
Yeah, and so you know,
it's
so you can imagine what happens to me in the gym.
Mobility issues, OP.
Yeah, I do. I need to start yoga.
Okay, the next one, October the 18th. Another opportunity for you to flex, buddy. Arkansas, flex time.
Up in Fayetteville, up in the Ozarks. Do we know where we're staying there yet?
We don't know anything.
No, of course not.
I don't even know if I'm going to that one. October the 25th.
You may have to drive to Arkansas.
Yeah, that's fine. You guys have fun. Enjoy that drive. I've had too many people at TexAgs complain about the way you drive and the way I drive.
The way I drive.
Drive yourself.
What's wrong with the way I drive?
Well, you've hit mailboxes before. I'm kidding.
I drive fast. I know that. Okay.
There was one time, I think where were we? Where you backed up into where were we? St. Louis, and it was a little dangerous situation. I'll have to ask Jamie. She'll remember.
Okay.
At
I don't recall.
LSU, flex.
Yeah, that's always a night game at LSU.
A lot of flexing going on here.
They need to flex their muscles against LSU and finally win in Baton Rouge.
November the 1st, trick question. What time is the game?
They're
off.
They're off.
Yeah.
It's another trip to Padre.
Another opportunity for OB to flex. Missouri.
Another flex in Missouri.
Can you flex without making a weird face like anybody? I guess.
I got kind of a weird face, just normal.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I for me,
apologize
it's
for
probably
agreeing.
it's probably
I do agree.
impossible. Yeah.
November the 15th.
My wife says it's a stupid face. She said, "Why are you making that stupid face?"
November the 15th.
Born with it.
South Carolina.
Ooh, I think
Early.
Really
Early.
good. You know what?
You know what? They deserve a night game for
No.
what they did to us.
Yeah, and I think the early kickoff typically favors the
away team.
visitor.
Yep.
Yeah.
November the 22nd. By the way, that's the day Kennedy died. Sorry.
Oh my.
November 22nd, 1963. Samford, 11 a.m.
Yeah, that should be.
And then November the 28th.
Yeah, that's a night game in
At
Austin.
Texas, 6:30 p.m. on ABC.
ABC. Sometime let me show you remind me, I'll show you probably the worst lead ever written in a newspaper. It was the Austin American-Statesman's lead on the Texas A&M game a few days after President Kennedy's.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It was probably would have made it in publication today.
A couple of days ago, it came out, and it was kind of expected, although I questioned the possibility, but game day is going to open up their season with Texas versus Ohio State. That'll be Lee Corso's final game as a studio host or analyst on game day. The very first time he put the mascot head on was at Ohio State, and he's going to close out his career doing the exact same thing. Some of the other games that came up, well, it could have been LSU Clemson. That could have been a game. The reason I was surprised about Texas Ohio State, it's a Fox broadcast, but I guess ABC doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, number one, the team is probably going to be the number one team in the country against
the number two team in the
the defending national champ. I get it.
Yep, I did too. Now it brings me to another topic. So we went through the schedule. Okay. We went through the times, not the actual, but then ESPN has their college football power rankings through the next couple of seasons. 2 seasons looking ahead, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know how you can do that.
Well, I'll tell you how. They got a criteria.
Okay? Do they know who's going to get what through the transfer
They don't
portal?
know. They don't know. That's why this article baffles me.
I know. That's why I'm saying that.
And
maybe years ago you could do that, but with the transfer portal and all,
Yep.
it goes that.
Teams will be evaluated on the following categories.
Okay.
Returning quarterback.
All right.
The likelihood of a multi-year quarterback on your roster.
Okay.
Offensive, defensive line outlook.
Okay.
Roster management.
Roster management. Okay.
Star power, All-Americans, national award contenders, all-conference contenders.
Again, I don't know how they factor in roster management, but all right.
And coaching staff.
Okay.
So looking at their top 25, I don't see A&M on there.
Really?
Let me just carry the 2 times Pythagorean's theorem, -5. No, they're not on here. Do you see them?
No.
I'll tell you some of the teams I do see. Over the next 2 years, they expect Ohio State to be number 2 and Texas to be number 1, Georgia to be 3. That, I feel like, even Oregon 4, Notre Dame 5, Penn State 6. Okay, cool.
Teams that spend a lot.
Yep. I think A&M. LSU in the top 10. You know, I don't know if they know this. Garrett Nussmeier is 100 years old. Tennessee, apparently they like Joey Aguilar. Alabama, that we don't even know the quarterback situation. Carson Beck's got to be 40 by now. He's at Miami. So A&M's not on there. A&M came in at number 28.
28. Okay.
We've said this before. Rankings don't matter, right? But
especially when
especially when A&M gets high rankings.
And when you're not taking, when you cannot factor in the transfer portal positively or negatively.
So a couple things about A&M over the next couple seasons. Returning quarterback, yes, Marcel Reed.
Yeah.
Back for a second season, all right? Last year, just under 2,000 yards passing, 15 touchdowns. He rushed for 543 yards with 7 scores. Sounds like a pretty good stat line for a guy who didn't start the whole year. It says the likelihood of a multi-year quarterback, very likely. Reed's only a redshirt sophomore. Projects as a quarterback who will need several college seasons for development. Okay. So, I feel like that's a plus.
I think he's going to be developed this year, but okay.
Offensive line, defensive line outlook. A&M takes a step under second-year head coach Mike Elko. The offense likely will lead the charge. The Aggies return all 5 starters. Okay, so sounds like the offensive line is great.
Yeah, for this year.
Yeah. And defensive line, there's some questions there. Okay. Roster management. Because right now, everything I've read makes me feel like they're good.
Yeah.
Roster management. The Aggies successfully held on to key players. In the case of the offensive line, in the entire position group, Reed will share a backfield with Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens.
I think he's probably projecting a
lot of people leaving.
A significant fall.
In 26.
In 26.
Okay. Which I can see why.
Because he's going to say, well, you're going to lose your offensive line. You know, you're going to lose, I don't know what you have in defensive line, even though I think the early returns are pretty good on their young defensive linemen.
This is an interesting commentary right here. The team had an interesting offseason at wide receiver, as Kyron Hudson didn't pan out and Noah Thomas transferred.
Kyron Hudson?
Huh.
Is that what he called him?
Yeah.
I thought his name was Micah.
I'm pretty sure. Oh, I think he's talking about Micah. Yeah, Micah Hudson. I'm pretty sure he's wrong there.
Yeah, see, right there. You say you don't even know the guy.
Done. Article out.
But yeah, Hudson.
I wonder if Kyron Hudson's good, though.
I
don't even know who that is.
Yeah, give him a shot. Yeah. Maybe he'll stay, unlike Micah.
They do talk about Casey Concepcion. They talk about star power. They talk about coaching staff. Despite a poor finish, Elko did some good things in year one. Not surprisingly, we'll run it back with Jay Bateman and Colin Klein. All right. So we're going to do our own little quick evaluation of that, all right?
Okay.
Returning quarterback, yes? Check?
Yes.
Okay. Likelihood of multi-year quarterback on roster?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So would we say a minus B for the criteria?
Well, if that's the criteria, then
so far,
isn't that an A?
Yeah, okay.
If that's the criteria,
just wanted to make sure.
All right.
Offensive line, defensive line outlook. I think an A on the offensive line
for 2025. 2026 different, but you know.
Okay. But they've done a really good job in recruiting, and they've got guys waiting. Okay, right. So that's. So if you're going to give the benefit of the doubt to certain schools, I'd like to get the benefit of the doubt every once in a while. We got to prove it, but I get it. Defensive line outlook, TBD.
Yeah, but that's one area. You look at, again, the early returns.
Pretty good.
From, you know, the kid from Belton, DJ. Gosh, I'm blanking. And then
Marco Jones
and Landon Rink. Yeah, the early returns are good.
So we've got pretty good feelings about the defensive line going in the right direction. Offensive line, excellent this year. Hopefully also excellent next year. Roster management, they didn't lose a lot of dudes. Okay, they lost Noah Thomas. That'd be the biggest loss. And they brought in quality players.
Would you say Noah Thomas is the only guy that they lost that they would have really liked to have kept?
I don't think they would have I think they would have liked to have kept Cam Dewberry and others. Sure, they would have liked to, but I think they were fine at the position. I didn't think they wanted to lose Cam. I guess is my point.
Yeah, there's probably certain guys they didn't want to lose, but what I'm saying is, you go with Noah. You say, "Gosh, we would have been a better team with him."
Yep.
I'd like Shanahan to still be around, but are you a worse team because of him? Are you not as good? I
mean, depth takes a hit, I guess. You know, he played last year.
I tell you what about Shanahan. Good run blocker, struggled in pass blocking.
Star power, All-Americans, National Award contenders, All-Conference contenders. Well, I think Le'Veon Moss leads the list there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Casey Concepcion. He's done it before, right?
Will Lee.
Yeah.
And Trey Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. And, you know, flip a coin. I'm
Chase
not saying this will happen.
potentially.
I'm going to say flip a coin between Chase Basantes and Armaj Reed Adams.
Oh, yeah. Armaj Reed Adams is getting a lot of hype as one of the best guards in all of college football. So, yeah, there you go. Oh, by the way, they're on the same offensive line.
And I'm not saying that these guys are going to be All-American, but I think those are all SEC candidates.
And if a year ago I felt good about this coaching staff, especially Mike Elko, I'm going to feel good about it today. I haven't changed my mind on Coach Elko.
No, neither have I.
So look, 28 is fine. They haven't proven anything. They need to prove something.
Mm-hmm.
I just think if we're in the projections game, I think most analysts, if you ask them, they feel like A&M's arrow is pointing up. Maybe not as up as some of the top 10 teams, like Texas, unfortunately, pointing very up.
Well, they're spending a lot of money.
LSU.
And that's not a criticism.
LSU has been historically in the 2000s a significantly better program, but like their arrow, they had a great transfer window, but their defense has been atrocious the last couple of years. They've had really good offenses for sure.
They have.
But A&M had a really good offense last year too, and that's with injuries, and that's with a lack of stability at the quarterback spot.
Yeah.
Now the offense was not good in certain games. The two best defenses they played, the offense was not good.
Okay, and I would say and the offense could have been better. I agree with that, but I also say that your numbers when you play elite defenses or strong defenses are not, they're not going to be as good. But yeah, they could have been better in those games.
Yep.
Hey, I'm just going to say this.
Say it.
Get me a yard on 4th down, and that I can count on converting them 4th and short, and I'll take it from there, and I'll be very bullish. I'm already bullish, but if I know that I can pick up the short yardage situation, I'm going to be very bullish on this offense.
You believe in Le'Veon Moss?
I believe in Le'Veon Moss.
I believe the running backs are the future. Treat them well, let them lead the way.
Yeah. Just give them a sense of pride.
Yeah.
You came through there, didn't I?
You did.
These young girls who are watching us here, they have no idea what we're talking about.
Anybody hear something very embarrassing about me?
Yeah. Always.
You know that song, I Will Always Love You? You know the song, right? Yeah.
I remember when Dolly sang it.
Well, that was my point. I'm watching this country music documentary. It's fantastic, the Ken Burns one. I didn't know Dolly was the first one. I didn't know she wrote it.
She sang it in the movie, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
I saw that movie when I was 3. I probably shouldn't have, because obviously the storyline. But I did see it. I don't remember the song. I dumbly thought Whitney Houston, that was her jam, and it was out, and it was Dolly who wrote it, trying to get out of her contract with the guy she was doing a TV show with in Nashville. I did not know that.
Yeah, no Dolly.
The more you know.
Very talented.
Hey, it's TexAgs Live, not Dolly Parton's show. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations, currently hanging out in the Holistic Planning
Cool Zone.
Do you think people in this room and Luke know who Dolly Parton is? Like, they actually know?
Yeah, everybody knows Dolly Parton.
Do you know who Dolly Parton is?
Yes, I have a picture of her on my wall, or like a metal board thing.
Okay. I want to know more about that. Jess,
Okay.
yeah?
Yeah, everybody knows
Luke?
Dolly.
Working 9 to 5.
Holy, look at this group.
That was
after somebody not knowing Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
that was great.
I'll Always Love You. That's one of her biggest hits.
It is her.
Yeah.
And Jolene.
I once saw someone. I guess it was a meme, and they had a picture of Dolly Parton when she was like 20. When she's pretty at 80. So
she's a very good looking lady.
And it says, the whole Jolene. She's like, Jolene's too pretty.
Jolene's going to take her man.
Right?
Yeah.
So it says it shows a picture of Dolly at 20, and it says, "What the hell did Jolene look like?"
That's pretty good. All right, let's go around the room and say hi to people. If you want to be a part of the conversation, call us up on the Puppies Catering Hotline. We think it's fixed. 979-693-1150. The jokester. The backup quarterback, Luke Evangelist, is in the house again. Luke, hello, sir.
Hey, good morning, y'all. How are we doing?
Well, I think I like this version of Luke. Happy. Well, he's always happy.
He's always happy.
But, I mean, he's texting me at 6:19 in the morning, ready to work. I love this. Like, this is the new Luke.
This is like Luke before the Michigan game, and, you don't want to see Luke after the Michigan game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Luke.
So he's not always happy. I've seen him depressed.
Hey, well, I've actually got some news for you since I'm finally doing my job. How about breaking news from Adam Schefter? Shamar Stewart has left the mandatory minicamp with the Cincinnati Bengals per a source. He had been attending those team activities like we talked about yesterday, but without a signed contract with the Bengals asking for a certain clause, he has decided to leave training camp.
It's unfortunate.
He's doing what his agents advise him to do. And look, we said it before, the Cincinnati Bengals are notorious for being cheap and trying to mess over their play, not doing the same things that every other team does, and trying to jack with your contract. And from what I understand, they're really lowballing him from the position he was at. So I get it.
Yep. Anything else, Luke?
Yeah, I've actually got one more thing for you. We were talking about A&M's schedule and all these flex games, and it just kind of got me thinking about how many times has OB been flexing in the studio? Like, he just does this all the time. And you'll see some examples up there of some old ones.
Hey, that's when I was working out.
And
that's when you were working out?
Yeah, I was working out.
That's when?
Yeah.
We've got 2 David Nuños up in this picture. Who remembers this? OB dressing up as David Nuño for Halloween.
That was so good.
Well, was that a better Halloween costume, or was the Stephen McGee a better Halloween?
The Stephen McGee was fantastic, but that
I
particular
think that's
one,
probably better. Because you got on don't you have on a Batman shirt?
I do.
And that was quite by chance.
It was on Halloween, and I always dress up as Batman on Halloween.
Oh, I didn't
but
know
you didn't
that.
know that at the time. At the time, you didn't know that.
No.
Because I'm Bruce Wayne, bro.
And you didn't know who I was until I had to explain it to you. You said, "Are you Bruce Wayne?" I said, "No,
I'm you."
Got the workout gloves on.
Yeah, the arms aren't as big, though.
No, not as big as yours.
Just kidding. I look skinny in that picture. I had my military cut. Kind of miss those days. Maybe I'll go back.
I wonder what I'll be in this Halloween.
Luke Evangelist. Just dress up like an old woman.
No, I could never be that thin. I could never be that thin again. No.
All right, you can take the picture down. It was on there awkwardly for like a screensaver. Can we please not do that again? Thank you, Luke Evangelist. I don't know why I gave your last name. Let's go right now to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, Ambry Heath. I don't know why I said it like that.
Ambry
I don't either.
Hey, you were practicing pronunciation. You are on point this morning. I'm giving you props.
I was maybe on point. Maybe still can be on point. I don't know. But Texas A&M has picked up a commitment from Mansfield safety Chance Collins.
They're on point?
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. He's the first safety in 2026 class and the 14th commit overall. He chooses the Aggies over Texas Tech, Utah, West Virginia, and will take his official visit on June 20th.
Happy about this one. Hal was on the show yesterday. He felt good. In fact, I think 24 hours earlier, he said, I think it was leaning Texas Tech, but the A&M did a good job at the camp, and they were able to. He felt good yesterday during the show, and it ended up paying off.
Yeah, hey, great. A&M needs help at safety, so if they see something in this young man that feels like he can come in and help them win championships, and great, welcome aboard.
Let's hit a break here. I know you've got an update for track and field. We'll get to that on the other side. But right now, okay, to get the muscles that you have in that picture, right? You had to monitor your protein intake. As you know,
I need more protein.
Yeah. So let's go carnivore right now for a few minutes, and let's talk 1775.
Yeah. Man, if you're on the carnivore diet, that's the place.
Yeah. It's called I Want More diet.
Yeah, because I want more meat.
I want more carnivore.
I'm a meat guy. So, give me that brisket. You can get the sausage. Now, if you have the jalapeno cheese in it, the cheese is okay for the carnivore diet.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean,
okay.
But
the turkey, that's the way you would go.
No. Why do you say that all the time?
Because turkey is low cal.
Who says I want low cal?
You?
No.
You got to be at a deficit.
Sometimes.
Aren't you weighing your food?
We've been doing this show together for 4 years.
They'll weigh your food for you just like he does.
My weight fluctuates. Like, what does my weight fluctuate like?
I don't know. I haven't watched you that
I have been 205 pounds on this stage in the last year.
Really?
And I've also, today I'm 179. I'm an up and down guy. I monitor okay, this is a completely different segment.
At 1775, you can get that succulent brisket.
Tell me more.
Get that jalapeno cheese sausage, the pork ribs that I love so much.
I love them too.
Yeah, he loves them
Not just
too.
the turkey.
But I don't know. But see, here's the problem.
What?
If you're going to try to be on that carnivore diet, then there's certain things you're going to have to avoid. And I ain't avoiding them. Well, if I'm at 1775, I'm telling you, I'm going for the queso mac and cheese.
OB, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
And we love meat.
I do.
1775txbbq.com. That's the website, 979-492-62.
Flesh of animals. I love it.
Yeah, I didn't finish the phone number. 979-492-6241. Bye.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Schuler Swallow Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. We got to get an update on the NCAAs for track and field. But I just heard a comment, and I was like, I feel like I've joined the old people team.
Yeah.
So Ambry at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, we're talking, how did it come up, pickleball?
She's from Georgetown, and the old people live there, and
I
I'm
was
old.
telling Obi he could go to Sun City when he's like super duper old, and then can play pickleball.
Well,
stay in shape.
And I asked a question like how pickleball exploded, and she was talking about playing in some community center that some older folks got upset with her for playing there because she didn't live in the area. And I kind of side with the old people in this conversation.
But they're not there.
But they showed up. They were there.
They showed up because there was rumors that kids were playing on their courts late at night.
Was it late?
It was like 9, 10 p.m.
That's late at night for old people.
But we weren't like bothering. We weren't.
Were you loud?
No, it's nowhere near their houses.
I think I'm with the old people on this.
That's embarrassing.
Because I'm an old person. Ambry, give us an update.
I like pickles, by the way.
An update on track.
I hate pickles. They ruin every food they touch.
I like them on my burger.
Pickles?
Yeah, I like pickles.
I love pickles.
Pickles suck. Go ahead.
Okay, Alexander Solovek stole the show on day one, winning the national title in the men's pole vault. He cleared 5.78 meters on his final attempt, excuse me. Not only school record, but only the fourth highest winning mark in meet history. In the 400-meter and 400-meter hurdle duo, Jaqueline Scott and Bryce McRae.
Jaqueline Scott.
Excuse me, sorry. In the 4x400-meter relay squad also advanced thanks to clutch anchor leg by Robinson.
Awesome stuff. I just won a national championship. I feel really... We need it, OB. We need it. We need two. We'll take the men and the women.
Well, do they have a lot more events to go?
They're going to be going through Saturday, I believe.
Okay.
So, Luke Evangelist, give us the update.
So just yesterday was for field events, it was more of the finals, and for track events, it was the semifinals. So right now, as of all the finals kind of in field being done, A&M's currently in 6th place with 10 points. Solovev got those 10 points from winning pole vault, and then Saturday is when you're going to see them actually start ramping up for a title. That's when all the finals for track will be.
You know how they score, right?
Tell me more.
So 10 points for first.
Yeah.
8 for second, all the way down to 1 point for sixth, I believe.
So get a bunch of first.
Get a bunch of first.
Yeah.
But the teams that win are often the teams that just have more people in it.
Right.
So even if you don't get first, you get a lot of the.
If I remember correctly, A&M, and Luke, you can fact check me, has 25. I think they have 13 men and 12 women participating. Does that number sound about right?
Correct. That is like the number of events.
Number of events. Yeah, there you go.
13 men and 12 women.
Yes, sir.
And I would be the one, there's, never mind, go on. 25. That's a lot. That's a pretty good representation.
Very good representation. Before we hit a break, I'm going to read this text from Philip, by the way. Philip's a buddy of mine, Philip Vargas. He's in town. He goes, whoa. That was offensive to Nuño. Don't you dare question his caloric intake. That guy's heard my conversations.
I wonder how many calories are in pickles.
It's heating up, and you don't want to get pickles on your clothes, guys. But you do want to get some Duck Camp Father's Day sale stuff going on right now. They get 60% off their best sellers, warm weather gear built for Aggies who live for early mornings in the blind, long days on the water, or late nights by the grill. And they have an awesome lineup. You got the lightweight performance crew, 30% off. Built to breathe when it's hot and humid, perfect for the lovely College Station weather. It was raining this morning. You could have worn that. Scout shorts, 30% off, perfect for the lake days, runs, little league, or tailgate beers. Essential hoodies, 30% off, very soft. Folks are sleeping in it. And the lightweight fishing shirt, 30% off, made for salt, sun, and long casts, whether you're gearing up for summer or just counting the days until Aggie kickoff. This one's for the Aggie dads who show up, get it done, and always have one more story to tell. Hit up duckcamp.com to shop for Father's Day sales before it is all gone. And don't wait. Father's Day and Aggie football will be here before you know it. It is Duck Camp. What kind of laugh was that? TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Our QB1's in the house. Stephen McGee, Paragon Financial, and Aggie. Great. What's up, buddy?
I'm learning about country again today, and I love OB's Why Vera.
Yeah, it's a good look. And I'm Mr. Country Music now, as you've learned.
You've pivoted from Bad Bunny to country. Welcome to the good times.
Bad Bunny is every day.
Country?
There is not a day that I don't listen to Bad Bunny.
America, Cuba.
He's from Puerto Rico. Hey, so we talked about this in the first segment. Just want to get your thoughts. I don't know how much you follow these teams, right? But ESPN had this article where they're talking about the next 2 seasons trajectory. And if you look at that, A&M is not on there at all, which is fine. They came out at number 28. I don't have a problem with it. But do you see anything here, right, from these schools that are like, why would Florida be in front of A&M? I'm just talking out loud. When their coach could be on the hot seat. And there's others in that same example. LSU, I get it. They are typically a top 10 team. So even if Brian Kelly, they're going to replace Brian Kelly if he doesn't win 9 or 10 games these next couple of years.
Yeah.
But looking at that, anything stand out?
Kansas State, Louisville, the teams at the bottom, BYU, I think they're benefactors of not necessarily better football teams than A&M. I feel like I like our chances if we were to just play that level or tier of school. I think we're going to be doing really well. Illinois, not to say that they're not hard outs and they're not good football teams and had success, but I think that they're definitely the benefactors of a lower tier conference. I think A&M is the opposite of that. Florida, I think it's just going to be purely a statement about their quarterback and people's belief that he can be a transformative player and that they found a little something at the end of last year and that carries over. It's a traditionally strong program. It's like SMU for me is similar to the Missouri, Kansas State, Louisville, BYUs of the world.
Yeah.
That, as we saw play out in the playoff game, like definite benefactor of bad football
conference. Is that Arizona State at 12?
Yes. Exactly. That's another one. It's like
now the Missouri one.
What's his name?
Scatterboo is kind of gone.
He's gone. Yeah, that day's come and sailed.
Missouri at 22 bugs me.
Yeah, Missouri at 22. I agree with you on that one. I'm not sure what their story is.
I don't either.
How do they get out of that conference?
Usually has a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been pretty good the last 2 out of 3 years.
Yeah, they always win like 10 games. They're helped with their schedule a lot.
Yeah.
Lately. But yeah, but you know what? I look at them for this year and I'm like, you lost 2 NFL caliber defensive linemen. You lost a first-round draft choice at offensive tackle. You lost your quarterback. You were terrible when he got hurt last year. Yeah. And you lost your 2 best receivers, Luther Burden.
Exactly.
And you're going to be better?
Yeah, he is definitely
I'm going to have to call BS on that one.
The top 5 don't. Top 6. I mean, I get it. Really, top 10. You throw in the names of like nothing's going to pay me about Tennessee, Alabama, LSU. Those names deserve to be there. Penn State, Notre Dame, even though they have historically benefited from some weaker they don't have non-conference games, but you know what I mean. Their slate is a little bit weak. Oregon deserves to be in there. Georgia, Ohio State, and of course Texas. Based on what they did last year, they deserve to be in there. That doesn't pain me. Miami, Arizona State, it's open. But like what we talked about last week, for me, A&M not being in there, I love it. That's exactly, if you said, hey, would we fight to be 17? I mean, we could make an argument that we could be anywhere from.
Make an argument, yeah.
You can make an argument that we should be anywhere from 16 to 25. Sure.
The fact is, A&M's always most dangerous when they're kind of flying under the radar, and when they get into the top 10, that's when they.
It's definitely not my hair.
Every time they're number 6. Number 6. I never want to see A&M ranked 6th again.
Never.
Every time they're 6th, they.
A&M needs to get to a point where major injuries sure hurt you, don't derail your season.
1,000%. That's what the great teams do. I mean, every one of these teams had
some injuries
at some point an injury to a key player. That's true at all levels of football. You got to be able to handle those adversities that come throughout the year. And unfortunately, we haven't proven that we're deep enough and good enough at all positions. Last year, that was running back, I think, most importantly. But then we have to be elite at quarterback. I think you look at the top 10 in any given year, and I would say that most of the time, like higher than 90% probability of correlation on these is that they're going to have good quarterback play.
What do you think was the most significant injury that A&M had to deal with last year?
Running back.
See, and I thought Amani came in and played really well.
He did. But I think the offense was different without Le'Veon.
I'll agree with that. I'm just saying I don't think you lost games because of your running back.
No, but you
didn't win games because of your running back necessarily.
And you didn't. And I don't know if you get those 4th and 1s with Le'Veon, but I like my chances.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a fair statement. There was definitely something different offensively.
Now some of the play calling I didn't love, right, in those situations, but I don't know if you had 2 4th and 1 situations against South Carolina, if I remember correctly. You had 2 against Texas. I think you had 1 against Auburn, and I might be wrong about Auburn. I think Le'Veon gets 1 of those.
Yeah, that's another thing I don't want to see is 4th and 1 for an A&M offense. It's like the 6th
seed. I want to see it if I feel like I got a team that can pick it up.
Yeah,
and that's what Elko said right away. That's who we are. We're going to go for it on 4th down. His vision is that we're such badasses on the offensive line that we're going to get that yard anytime we need it, and there's not a thing you can do about it. Now, they did get bigger and stronger in the offensive line, and I'm sure it was all based on getting that extra yard.
Yeah,
instead of finding the inches, now we got to find the whole yard.
This is fair.
And you know what? I feel better about this coaching staff and A&M finding that yard than I did about finding the inches in the previous one.
Yeah, 100%. Let's hit a break here. We'll come back with a little buy-sell lease. I want to kind of extend this topic. I'm going to throw you a couple teams, and you guys tell me who you'd buy stock on in the next couple years. Okay, we'll do that. Right now, though, we are talking about Rollo Insurance. Insurance decisions shouldn't be made in 15 minutes or less. Rollo Insurance is going to take the time to know your exact situation. That's what they've done with me and several others. In fact, today we're actually signing up the twins for their insurance. They're getting their license, and life's going to be crazy, right? Like but Rollo, I have my guy Morgan taking care of me, right? Dude, I already got it. Yes. And Rollo found me the best possible deal. Dude, Rollo found me the best possible deal.
Yeah.
I need another job. But thank you, Rollo, for taking care of me, and they'll take care of you as well. The phone number is 888-44-ROLLO. 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. You like when I stand and do the segment?
I do. It's very un-Nuño-like.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It just shows people like, I'm having a conversation with the guys in the back. That's a lie. And anyway, let's do a little buy, sell, lease, shall we?
We shall.
All right, this is awkward. Here are 3 teams, okay? I want you guys to buy, sell, lease their stock for the next couple of years.
Yep.
And one of those is Texas A&M at 28, okay?
Okay.
The other one is Oklahoma at 27. And the other one I'm going to give you is Missouri at 18. For the next 2 years, whose stock, and when I say stock, are you buying, who's going to finish higher when it's all said and done this year and next year?
I'll buy A&M all day. I'll lease Oklahoma and I'll sell Missouri.
I might flip that, personally.
All the way around.
No. I'm buying A&M for the next couple years. I am selling Oklahoma because I think their schedule, and I think Venables might be on his way out.
Yeah.
I think Drink has proven to be a better coach. They have a manageable schedule with a new year. I don't know what their schedule looks like next year, but I am going to sell Oklahoma and lease Missouri. OB?
I want to be different, and yet I can't. And I don't want this to come off as me being a provincial or a big homer, but I'm buying A&M there.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm selling Missouri.
Yeah.
And I'm leasing Oklahoma because it's Oklahoma. But that said, of the 3 coaches, Elko, Drinkwitz, and Venables, I think Venables is the weakest.
Absolutely.
And they're going all in. Everything's going to change because they got this quarterback from Washington State. Okay, maybe he's going to be good, but what you do against Washington State doesn't necessarily transfer to what you do now.
A little bit more on my reasoning. It's more because of Oklahoma's schedule last year and this year, and I don't know how much time that's going to buy him, but I'm just going to kind of go through it. They host Michigan September 6th, Temple, they have Auburn, they have Kent State, they have Texas, obviously. They have South Carolina, in South Carolina at night, okay? They've got Ole Miss, they've got Tennessee, they got Alabama, they've got Missouri, and they got LSU. That's a 4 or 5 loss team right there.
That's 7 really tough ones.
Yeah, I would.
That schedule's pretty tough to overcome. Now, granted, I think the bullish case for Oklahoma is that they have built up the roster a little bit from a talent perspective. They got some good players. They got some guys that could.
People are very high on John Mateer. They're like very high on.
I'm like OB. I want to see it. I want to see it in big time football. Everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the mouth, and for me, that plan is like, I had a plan against Washington. I had a plan against UCLA. In the 70-degree weather, a little West Coast game where you could play routes on air. But then when you play Georgia and Alabama in the SEC West, it's like, oh boy, they get up on the line of scrimmage and they challenge you in man-to-man coverage. And these guys coming off the edge are 6'5" and run 4.4s, and it's different.
What I find interesting is, all right, John Mateer is going to be the savior, and he may be. He's a Lake Dallas kid. Okay, I'm all for our Texas kids, and sorry that they get away, but. So now we're saying the big problem with Oklahoma last year was Jackson Arnold that held them down, but he's going to start at Auburn.
Yeah.
And Auburn is being talked about as being, look out for Auburn.
Right.
So which is it?
It can't be both.
It can't be both. Yes. Oklahoma had a lot of problems last year, to say the least.
Yeah, it wasn't just quarterback. In fact, when they benched Jackson Arnold, and they brought in the freshman, was it Michael? He was a freshman.
Yeah.
Hawkins?
There you
was
go.
Hawkins? Yeah. And they won a game, I think, against Auburn. There's, this guy, we finally made the right choice. And then he sucked.
In that game, Michael Hawkins was 10 of 15, 161 yards, by the way.
And it had a long touchdown run against Auburn, I think.
Peyton Thorne, another great game in that one. He threw for 338.
Poor Peyton Thorne, man.
I hated him.
He'll live in infamy, but he did beat A&M, didn't he?
He did beat A&M.
Anyway, so I come back and I think, was Jackson Arnold so bad that he made an entire team suck like Oklahoma sucked last year until they played Alabama? Or could it be that they had equally distributed suckage all along the roster?
I think there's definitely a dose of both of those.
Equally
amount of suckage.
Equally distributed suckage.
I like that.
Equally distributed suckage.
They were, 6 and 7 last year, Oklahoma? I don't know why they'll be better this year.
I agree.
Because of John Mateer.
Because John Mateer, yes. If they play Missouri, all things equal, I kind of like Oklahoma next year. But to your point, it's the schedule that really is limiting.
They're not like A&M lost games that were tight. I'm going to tell you some of these losses. They lost by 10 to Tennessee. They lost by 31 to Texas. They lost by 24 to South Carolina. They lost by 12 to Ole Miss. They did lose by a touchdown to a very good Missouri team, or a good talent Missouri team. And they lost by 20 to LSU. Now it's going to magically be better. Like it'd be different if they were losing by a field goal or a touchdown or less. They're getting stomped.
Yeah, they are.
But they beat Alabama.
They beat Alabama. And I will say this. You have to.
They beat Alabama 24-3, by the way.
The ability of a football team to bounce back, though, in the world of NIL and transfer portal is infinitely more quickly done.
Yeah.
That's a really bad sentence there. But you know what I'm getting at. It's essentially saying that you can build a competitive team now with the transfer portal very quickly, whereas in the past you couldn't. So I think previous generations of football, they're doomed. But current generation of football, you go out, get you a quarterback, you get one or two difference makers, high school.
LSU's all excited because they got a receiver from Oklahoma.
That's true. LSU's got a bunch of receivers. I'm worried about LSU.
We got to drop it right there. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you. When we come back, Dan Murphy, ESPN. We're looking forward to that. And then Cameron Wolfe of the NFL Network. That and more is TexAgs Live. Let's talk a little Snaps clothing. David Nuño here, and I love wearing Snaps clothing everywhere. I've got the flannel on right now. You've seen me in the Tailgater collection with the A&M gear. It is fantastic. If you see me around town with my sons, Christian and Cruz, they've got a bunch of Snaps gear. When they have big games for Consol, they wear nice clothes, so they wear their Snap stuff. And I'm telling you, with baseball season here, let's all kind of go looking stylish and fit to the games there at Olsen wearing the Snaps clothing. As a reminder, they are the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snaps maker out there. Their Tailgater collection is built for game day with breathable, moisture-wicking fabrics to keep you comfortable while you rep your Aggies in style. Now, whether you're watching the game from home or maybe you're in attendance, you're tailgating, whatever it may be, you got to make sure you head to snapsclothing.com to see everything they have to offer. It is fashionable, it is awesome, and you're going to love it. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Talk a little bit about the House settlement, the future. I know it's been a topic all week, and at times it feels nauseating, but there's new news coming every day about some countersuits and whatnot. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Dan Murphy of ESPN joining us here on the program. Dan, what's up, man?
Good morning. How we doing?
I'm well, man. So you've kind of been doing double duty, right? Covering some baseball and the stuff going on with the House settlement.
There's always double duty, at least 3 or 4 things going on, but it's fun. We've been waiting on this House settlement for months now, so it's kind of exciting that there's finally a little bit of action going on, I think.
Yeah, so I was a little surprised that the Title IX part of the conversation took a little while to get to the courts. I thought it would be kind of instant. It came out recently. So what do you think? Why was the delay? Were they kind of reading through the loopholes? And what do you think about it all?
So this even the same lawyer that filed this new appeal. So there was an appeal filed yesterday in court, basically saying that the way that the judge applied the law to get to this settlement, which is just the appeal is just about the back payments, right? The almost $3 billion that former athletes are going to get. The appeal basically says that the judge didn't apply the law right, and some higher court needs to turn things around and change the way this money is going to be divvied up among players. And the same group of lawyers, along with several other lawyers, raised these concerns back in September in a preliminary hearing about the settlement, and again in April, right before the judge had her last hearing on what this was going to look like. And so they've raised the same concerns. Judge Wilkin really quickly dismissed them and said, "Hey, that's outside of the scope of what we're doing here. That might be a violation, but I'm not a Title IX judge. This isn't a Title IX case, so you're going to have to file that complaint separately." We are going to, at some point, get a Title IX case about how schools are paying their athletes moving forward and having all, the huge majority of that money going to football and men's basketball players. That you can't really file until the players are actually getting the checks themselves. You have to be able to show that this is real and the money is flowing in a way that's not equal. And then we'll get some challenges to decide whether that's allowed under the law or not. This one is more about the back payments that are going to be going to athletes. And it's an issue that several lawyers have raised over the course of the last year. And this is really their kind of last ditch effort to get somebody in the legal system to pay attention and say this isn't right.
Talking to Dan Murphy here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So is an argument potentially, hey, yes, we understand Title IX is here, but it's going to be a percentage of what the schools bring in as opposed to, because football is going to carry the weight for all these programs, right? And it's going to be impossible to match that dollar for dollar.
Yeah. I think, basically Title IX law, right, says that you have to provide equal academic opportunities on your campus for men and women. And for the last 50 years, since Title IX was implemented, the federal court system and the United States government has considered sports part of the academic experience on a college campus. And that's why you have to have an equitable number of roster spots and the same number of scholarship dollars going to men and women. The big question is, once you're paying athletes for a revenue share that's more about using them as a marketing tool for the university, does that still count as an academic experience, or is that relationship between the school and the athlete a separate business from the student and teacher relationship that you otherwise, see with, and that Title IX applies to? Different presidential administrations over the past couple of years have felt differently about it. It depends on which lawyer you ask, how to apply the law properly. There's no real precedent for when a school sends money directly to a player for something that isn't directly related to tuition, how the Title IX law applies to any of that. And you can make the argument that this isn't fair for, as you wrote, as you brought up, football and basketball drive the overwhelming majority of that money. And is it fair for a football player to have to subsidize his classmates who aren't creating the same amount of money if they're the ones paying the bills? And I think that's the argument against it that the NCAA right now and all the other folks who are on the other side of this are making.
Dan, what's the hesitation to making student athletes employees? Because I feel like it's the easiest thing to do. I don't know if easy is the right word, but it makes the most sense because, I'm sorry, I think they're getting paid as employees right now. We're just calling it NIL.
Yeah, it looks more and more like employment with every rung of the ladder we climb up here toward professionalism. And definitely now that schools are cutting those checks directly to players, I've had a chance to look at a dozen or so different contracts that schools have already signed with their players. And boy, they look a lot like employment contracts that you or I might sign. And they're sort of playing this semantics game. They don't want athletes to be employees for a couple reasons. So first of all, it makes sense for a Texas A&M football player to be considered an employee of Texas A&M. Does it make sense that the cross-country runner is an employee, or is that relationship a little bit different? Does it make sense that a D3 football player is considered an employee of his school, or is that relationship actually more about the academic enrichment that the student gets out of it? Lumping every college athlete into one entity is, I think, one of the foundational problems of why the NCAA has had so many issues trying to figure their stuff out here over the past 10 or 15 years. Is like the Texas A&M quarterback is just not the same as the D3 kid playing field hockey or water polo. And in trying to make the same rules for those two different people, they mean different things to their schools. You have to treat them differently. And we're slowly getting there. But, on top of all that, employment brings up concerns about having to pay workers' comp. Does all the other benefits they get suddenly become taxable benefits? Do they have to pay into this in a different way? And for smaller schools, making all of their athletes, if you consider the D3 athlete an employee too, that creates some real financial concerns for them where they might have to drop teams or entire athletic programs if they are forced to treat athletes like employees. Texas A&M, Texas, big time schools, they'll be able to weather that financial storm. But if you cast a really wide net and consider everybody an employee, then it does become a problem for a lot of, it's not advantageous for a lot of college athletes at a lower level.
Dan, it was talked about a couple years ago, but at what point and how close potentially does football just break away like it? And who can make that happen? Because again, there's so many cooks in the kitchen. Like, I don't know how, but football become its own entity with its own rules. And if it's a NFL model or if it's just the Power Fours or the Power Twos, like, do you think because of this we're closer to that?
Yeah, I think this potentially pushes us in that direction. I don't think we've inevitably started down a path that has no other conclusion. There are other ways that this could go, especially if Congress gets involved and does the things the NCAA is asking for from Congress right now, which would stop employment and would give them large protections to enforce the kind of rules they want to enforce. But otherwise, the fact is that this separates the Power Four conferences from everybody else a little bit more. And even more so, it separates the top 30 or 40 schools in the country that are just living in a different stratosphere than everybody else, than the amount of money that they can generate to field, to go get players, right? Texas A&M is in a different world than Rutgers and West Virginia and Vanderbilt and other teams at the bottom ends of these Power Four conferences. When you look at their budgets, it's just not even close. And at some point we may see, whether it's the top 25 or 35 or 45 teams split away, economic forces may drive us there. And if we get there, it's either the conferences themselves deciding this makes way more sense, or it's some other entity coming in, sort of buying a stake in college sports programs and spinning them off and creating a different business.
Dan, I look at this and I'm like, I know there's going to be a policing to it, right? I understand Deloitte and I get it, right? But I'm like, if Texas and Texas A&M and Texas Tech and all these big schools are paying $34 million right now, they're not going to go to 20, right? So like, how do they adjust? How does unless you do like a franchise tag, you can't say that this guy can only make X amount of dollars.
Yeah, so there's basically two buckets moving forward where money can flow to athletes. There's straight from the school, and that's the $20.5 million, and we'd expect maybe 14, 15 or so million is going to go to the football team. And then you've got the way NIL has been in the past, right? Third parties paying an athlete. And what this new College Sports Commission and Deloitte are trying to do is make sure that all of those deals in that second bucket are actual endorsements rather than the booster who's paying because he wants the team to be better. good luck stopping the booster. That's a private interaction between one citizen and another, and they put some things in place that will help them try to slow down those deals. But it's funny. I've talked to people about this. And we've got athletic directors who sit in one meeting and say, "We need rules. We need an equal playing field. Let's get those in place." They literally walk into the next meeting and say, "How do we get around these rules? Where are the loopholes? And how do we make sure our team has an advantage?" And people are finding creative ways already so that those third-party deals look on paper like legitimate endorsements. Like schools are standing up entire, licensing agencies. Essentially, they're going to act as players' agents to go out and find them as many NIL deals as they can, and that's going to be the new arms race in seeing how much higher than that $20.5 million mark can you push your overall payroll through those kind of sort of creative partnerships that schools are going to be looking to make.
What do you think happens to small town, big college markets? So College Station, very close to Houston and Austin, so we should be fine. But there are some places that are small towns that have done really well. But I think like the NIL opportunities in a Los Angeles and a Miami, in a Houston, and to me, because sometimes when you think about college sports, you think about the small town. You don't think about the big cities, right? But the big cities, I feel like, can take a big advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to, so Deloitte basically is going to have this formula, and nobody knows exactly what the formula is, to decide what's, they don't like the term fair market value anymore. They use range of reasonable compensation. So what's a reasonable price that you might pay a Texas A&M quarterback to endorse your business, whatever it may be? And we don't know exactly what's in that formula. We do know that the school's brand power is part of it. So the Deloitte will consider the fact that you're at a big time college football program as a reason why that price might be a little bit higher, because that might drive more eyeballs for one reason or another. Even if you're not in New York City or Los Angeles, the Texas A&M brand, the Duke brand, where University of Kentucky for basketball, those kind of programs still drive a lot of eyeballs, even if it doesn't come with a huge city media market. And I think part of that will be cooked into the formula for what they consider to be an okay payment. That's one of the big hairy questions that's sitting out here, is how closely will they be enforcing these deals, enforcing this sort of restrictions on how much you can be paying athletes, or will they be lenient and sort of be the traffic cop who's got his hat pulled down over his eyes on the side of the road, who's just there to try to convince people to slow down a little bit, but isn't really going to be too strongly trying to enforce these limits.
Dan, your colleague Dan Wetzel, he wrote an article, and I forget how he phrased it, but basically, we're just bringing back the Wild Wild West. Like, it's still here. It hasn't gone anywhere. In fact, it opens up a couple more possibilities. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. One way or another, right? So big time college football programs right now bring in $100 million to $150 million a year, just the football team in revenue every year, right? So if you think about pro sports, that number, most of the time, athletes are getting about 50% of that. And the NCAA is arguing that if you look at the whole athletic department now and scholarships and everything else, athletes will be getting about half of the money that their athletic department brings in. But on a football basis, a team like Georgia, a team like Alabama, a team like A&M, the football players are still getting more like 15, maybe less % of the money that the football team brings in every year. And so just the economics of it, right? There is going to be an incentive to spend more. There is a reason to spend more money to get good players on your campus than you're allowed to spend. That money is going to flow from people that want to see their team win to players one way or another, whether it's through the legitimate channels that the NCAA wants it to flow through, or whether we're going back to the days of sticking money in duffel bags. That money's going to flow. And I think what Wetzel is saying is, hey, if you block all of these loopholes and all the things that have moved these payments above the table over the past 4 or 5 years, we already know what the system is for paying under the table, and it's just going to come right back.
Dan, what about the portal in the future? It goes back to antitrust exemptions, employees, and yada, yada, yada. To me, that's the no-brainer way to fix the whole portal thing. But do you think the portal, being the Wild West that it is right now, and it's going to continue to be, that's college football for the next 5 or 10 years?
Potentially. I think one of the interesting things about how this is going to play out, I think I mentioned here a few minutes ago, is that schools now have contracts with their players, right? And inside those deals, there's all kind of legal language that looks a lot more like an employment deal. That includes things like buyout clauses or things where players would have to sort of pay a penalty if they want to transfer from one school to the next. Kind of thing we see in coaching contracts now, right? And usually the next school will just pay off the coach's buyout clause if they want him bad enough. The question is whether those type of buyout clauses are legally enforceable and whether schools are going to try to enforce them. There's a couple open cases, like there's one up at Arkansas right now with Madden Iamaliva, who left, and they're trying to decide whether or not they're going to try to enforce this buyout clause for money he owes. That could potentially slow down the transfer market. It's a disincentive to leave your school. It's a reason to stick around a little bit longer, potentially, if the school writes the contract the right way. So I think we may see a little bit of a slowdown, but certainly they haven't solved the problem yet in the same way that a collective bargaining agreement or admitting that these guys are employees would solve the problem.
In your opinion, how does the House settlement affect D2, D3, JUCO? Could potentially create more opportunities. It also can, create much more of a club program vibe to those schools.
Yeah, I think honestly, I don't know that it will shake things up too much. Those schools aren't going to be paying more money. It's sort of business as usual for them. I think it's sort of interesting of how this might affect non-revenue sports at the major schools and whether they still get funded in the same kind of way or are thought of more as, let's do it as the D2, D3 model is. Is a Big Ten or an SEC soccer team or cross-country team now going to look more like the D2 team down the road because they generate the same kind of an audience as the D2 team down the road? But for D2, D3 programs, they're not going to be paying out these kind of NIL deals to players, nor are their players really expecting that. So I don't see a huge new reality for any of those programs on the horizon.
Dan, if I'm a school that doesn't do very well in football, right? You've tried, but it doesn't work. I would be like, you know what? Let's go be the best softball program. Let's go be the best baseball, which I know is one of the big three. But and put your resources there, and then compete with these SEC schools because they're not going to be able to match us, and we're going to be able to own this market.
Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made for you can carve out whatever space you want now, right? You can take that $20.5 million, and if you want to have the best lacrosse program in the country, you can outspend everybody else in lacrosse, and football would suffer for it. The economic incentives are built in a way where if you want to keep, most of this money comes from TV deals, right? Like that's the end all be all, TV deals and football ticket sales. So to be able to pay the lacrosse team and the baseball team and the soccer team, you need to still be part of those big TV contracts, and you can't. So I think there will be a lot of people who want to make sure that they're at least good enough that when the next round of conference realignment comes, when those TV contracts are up for renegotiation, that Alabama's and Ohio State's and people aren't going to kick us to the curb because we're just not bringing anything. We're not bringing a football audience to the table. So that will keep schools wanting to play well in football, but it will be really interesting to see. There's a chance for schools to put their money where their mouth is on emphasizing some of their other sports and what's really important to them. We'll find out priorities here in the next year or two.
Dan, last thing for you. Just want to make sure I understand it. Like I'm fairly sure I do. Schools don't have to spend the $20.5 million, right? They can choose to go up to 20.5, but they don't have to spend $20.5 million. And are there any major programs that you've heard that are going to no, we're going to only be doing 15 or 10?
That's correct. Yeah. So 20.5 is a ceiling. There's no real floor on this. Some conferences might eventually put in floors because they want to make sure that schools are investing in their athletes and they're going to be building competitive rosters if they're going to be part of the league. I think actually it's the American Athletic Conference is the first one to put in a spending floor that schools have to spend on their players over the course of the next few years. I would expect anybody who's in a Power 4 conference is going to do everything they can to get to that 20.5 number. I think some of the interesting ones will be the group of 5 level schools who are competitive against Power Conference teams occasionally, and whether or not they have the budget to get straight to 20 million or whether they might be able to get 10 million this year and then slowly work their way up toward that number as they find other ways to fundraise. But I mean, it is a consequential amount of money for a lot of these athletic programs that, if you're not in the Big Ten or the SEC, your budget is probably 80, 90, $100 million a year. So we're talking about a new 25% expense that you have to figure out where that money's going to come from. So I do think there will be maybe your BYUs or Boise States or somebody like that isn't going to be able to ramp up to $20.5 million right out of the gates and is just kind of hoping to get there eventually.
Hey, I appreciate your time, Dan. Let's do it again, man.
Thanks for having me.
Take care. Dan Murphy, ESPN, always accommodating coming on this program, especially when there's big news. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. Cameron Wolfe from the NFL Network. We'll just talk some NFL storylines. And yeah, got to talk Shamar Stewart's whole situation, leaving. We'll get into that. What's the Von Miller's future in the league? So a lot of Aggie storylines. Devon A-Chain, Mike McDaniel the other day said he expects him to have a huge season. So we got some Aggie storylines to get into. And Cameron covers the Miami Dolphins for the most part. He covers the league, but he is stationed out of Miami. Ground Shuttle offers frequent and reliable shuttles in Bryan College Station to Bush Intercontinental Airport when you're going out of town. That's the way to get to Bush, right? You got some students in town that are going to be going home part of the summer. Let them take advantage of the Ground Shuttle because they'll get them there in style. You don't have to worry about anything. You park right there in South College Station by Casa de Brazil, and they're going to take you, and you don't have to worry about the traffic. You don't have to worry about the parking. You don't have to worry. They'll just drop you front door, easy peasy. In fact, that should be their slogan. I just told them that. Hopefully they'll use it. They also have charter service anywhere in Texas. They can get you there up to 14 passengers. Very easy. Camila and the gang do an amazing job. The website is groundshuttle.com. That website again, groundshuttle.com. Check them out. Hey everyone, David Nuño and Olin Buchanan and OB. Typically we start off the show in this section, and we call it the Holistic Planning Cool
The cool zone, yeah. It's pretty cool.
What do we know about holistic planning?
Well, a lot of cool stuff. For instance, holistic planning can help you with your investments.
I love that.
They can help you with your taxes. So
I don't like paying taxes.
You can get that money from your investments and they keep it. They'll help you keep it away from the government.
Yep.
Not all of it, but more of it. And then they'll even help you with your estate planning. When you're old like me, you got to make sure some of that money you made is there for when you want to retire and just enjoy the rest of your life.
You want your estate to be planned. But they also do something else.
Yeah, well, if you are, like, say, a sports fan, and you've always wanted to...
Everybody watching us, right?
Yeah. And you want to always dream of being an owner, well, in a certain way you can, because they will broker the deal for you to invest in pro sports.
Yeah, what you need to do is check out investinprosports.com. That's where you can get all the information if you want to invest in a team. I don't know what team. He'd probably try to buy the Cowboys. I'd try to buy a lot of the Houston teams. Whatever it may be, investinprosports.com. It is holistic planning, and we love hanging out at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone. All right, we're going to flip things around. Aaron Torres is actually going to be on the show here. Maybe what we should do is hit an early break here to give Aaron Torres time to get to his phone, and then we'll do Cameron in the last segment. That way, everybody's got time to do what they have to do. So Cameron Wolfe from the NFL Network will join us a little bit later. He was trying to do 9:20, but he's going to push it back to probably 9:40, 45 or so. So we'll do AT in the next segment, and then we'll just try to get back on track. I was telling the group here, like, sometimes when I hear the legal mumbo jumbo, I realize how smart I'm not, and that's a positive way of looking at it. Because, like, Luke, to me, a lot of this stuff sounds simple, and then I throw out an idea, and then, like, it's shot down so easily just because of the legal ramifications. Yeah, it's a good idea, but, and that's what I feel like happens a lot of times. Like, to me, look, I'm not smart enough to fix college athletics, but I think I'm smart enough to, like, put people in a room and, like, all right, we're going to figure this out and get it done, and we're just going to try something, which the House settlement kind of does, but it doesn't fix. I feel like you can do more to fix everything.
100%. And that's why I think we need people like Mitt Winter and Dan Murphy to come on the show and talk about what's going on, because they can explain it better than you or I could. Maybe Matthew Dawson could explain it better, but as of right now, I think Mitt Winter and Dan Murphy,
they're smarter.
What they've written, what they've put out there has been excellent to help us understand and break down dozens and dozens of pages in this House settlement to make it understandable and digestible for this college sports audience.
Yep. All right, let's hit a break here. Try to get back on track. We'll talk to Aaron Torres here in a few minutes, and then we can have Cameron Wolfe. I'm just doing an executive decision just to make life easier for everyone. Heritage Films, when it comes to preserving your farm or your ranch's legacy, it's not just about capturing pretty pictures or videos, posting them on Facebook Memories or your Instagram Reels. It's not about that, right? Like, yeah, you can keep those memories, but how about telling the actual story behind the land, the story about why your land is so important to your family, why you are wanting to transfer the values of your operation to the next generation? That's what Chance does with Heritage Films and his new product, Farm and Ranch Films. He'll tell stories, all of them, right? He's already done thousands of stories, and he wants to make sure that your family inherits the blueprint of America and that he's discovered something profound. These ranches and businesses are not just about building character. It's about telling a family's story, right? And think about 100-year cycles to generational cycles, right? Visit yourheritagefilm.com, click on Farm and Ranch, or call them up, 713-893-8341. That's 713-893-8341. It is Heritage Films. And we're back. It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for Around College Athletics. Thanks to our friends at Milliken Reserve. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Our friend A.T. Aaron Torres from Aaron Torres Online and Fox Sports Radio joining us. A.T., what up, buddy? Again? You're kidding me. You're kidding me. It happened again. All right, A.T., if you can hear me, I don't even know. Hey, there you. Oh, you're there.
I don't hear anybody, Charlie girl.
Aaron, do you hear me? Oh. Oh my God, I'm going to punch myself in the face. I'm really going to punch myself. AT, we're going to put you on hold. Can somebody send AT the Zoom link? Or I'll try to send it to him. I mean, I can't because I'm doing the show. So, do you have his number, Luke? We're doing an executive decision here on the show. Can you do that? All
yeah,
right.
I got it.
Thank you.
I've got some news for you if you want to.
Give me news so I can text. I can text AT.
Yeah, of course. How about we talk about special performers here around the office and having athletes? How about Cade Bickham being Gulf Coast first team All-Region for Texas A&M club baseball? By the way, he was an All-American last year. He told me hold off on making any graphics for him because he might be an All-American again this year. So in case you didn't know, Cade Bickham is not just an All-American employee at TexAgs. He's an All-American on the mound. And here's the stats. Very impressive. The whip is sub-1, looking at .93. Opponents are batting .162, and the ERA is .47. Those numbers sound made up, David.
They sound made up, but the guy's a real athlete. He's one of the greatest basketball players in this company. One of. Yeah, he's second.
Behind?
Well, I mean, I don't think I'm better than him. I just got the better of him.
That sounded like a Drake lyric. Like you could have put that in a song. I'm not better than him. I just got the better of him. Bars.
I got bars for days. Congratulations to Cade Bickham. I believe Aaron Torres is going to hop on the Zoom link. I thank the audience for bearing with me, all right, or bearing with us. I do. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aubrey Heath, give me something, please.
My name's Ambry.
What did I say? Aubrey?
Aubrey.
You know why I said Aubrey?
Why?
Because my daughter's bestie is Aubrey.
Okay.
But you're still Ambry, though.
Speaking of,
and I don't like your attitude right now.
I apologize. Speaking of athletes,
I like that attitude.
Speaking of
Tell
athletes,
me how you really feel.
Speaking of athletes,
how about now? Go ahead.
Speaking of athletes on the TexAgs staff, people really want to know about Luke's tryouts that didn't happen.
Well, Luke, do you have anything you want to say for yourself?
Sorry, we're a little bit busy. AT's in. And I can tell you this, my tryouts went so well that I actually got a call back and they want me to start at point guard.
Okay.
This upcoming
season. I want this show to be about sports, not about La La Land and Fantasy Land. Let's hopefully go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline and talk to somebody who will fix this show. Aaron Torres, are you there?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, buddy, I'm frustrated. I hope not with you. You're my guy, and not with anybody in particular. Yeah, I mean, but I got a question for you. Look, I have been known to be the guy that has the most beef with others in sports radio community. All right, I battle MCs. Right, that's what I do. But
I know.
I've taken a step back. Okay, I've turned over a new, I've turned the page. I'm nice now. I invite the trolls and my enemies over for breaking bread. You, on the other hand, you go after SEC people, schedule makers.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, the guy is, I don't know if he's a big wig at the SEC. I think he's the one who created this, but you went at him and he's like, hey, buddy, I'll be willing to talk to you anytime. Explain to me how you got into a war of words with the SEC schedule maker.
It's so funny because when you started that segment, I was actually thinking the same thing. I was like, dude, I used to get into it more. I just don't have the time. I mean, I'm running a business. I got stuff to do. I do a show basically every day, whatever. But yeah, no, I mean, listen, it's a little bit of a slower time. You know, football schedules are coming out. Basketball schedules are coming out. And, there was a report, I guess it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember what day. It was 2 days ago. So I guess it was Tuesday that Arkansas and Kentucky were only playing once next year. And, of course, to A&M fans, this isn't basketball, obviously. And to A&M fans, I don't know if that really moves the needle. But obviously it's Calipari. Both teams made the Sweet 16 last year. Calipari's return to Rupp Arena was very anticipated. They're only playing once. So all I tweeted out was big whiff by the SEC offices, blah, 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 whatever. But, hey, we got 2 Kentucky Vandy games, whatever. And then, respectfully, I wasn't, to quote the old Shaq meme, I was not familiar with his game. But somebody from the SEC office kind of gets, listen, how it gets on social media, kind of gets into the comments and says, the SEC is coming off the highest rated year of all time, and we're so happy with our schedule. And I think he just thought I would back down. I'm like, yo, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Greg Sankey. I don't care if you're Kalen DeBoer tweeting from your own account. If I disagree with you, I'll let you know. So I kind of just said, I kind of quote tweeted him and said, apparently the SEC offices is mad at me for pointing out that the best game they could have put on the schedule twice, they only put on it once. But his name's Garth, and he and I have since exchanged pleasantries via text messages and emails, and hoping to have him on my show soon. But yeah, David, I am, the one thing I always say, I'm loyal to my audience, and I'm not going to protect people, and I'm not going to sugarcoat things. And do I have friends, to the reverse Garth Brooks, do I have friends in high places? Yes, I do. But if I think you messed up, I'm going to let you know. And the old SEC offices got the wrath of Torres here over the last couple of days.
Talking to Aaron Torres here on TexAgs Live. All right, AT. I read this morning that there's positive momentum for men's college basketball to adopt a 4-quarter strategy as opposed to the 2 halves in the near future. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is just one. I don't understand the burning passion in people's stomachs for this to change. First of all, I am in favor of making, I'm against college football trying to just turn itself into a mini NFL. But in basketball, I am in favor of trying to make the college game a little bit more like the NBA, because I do think that maybe incentivizes guys to stay in college basketball longer if they feel like they're getting developed for the next level. I don't understand this obsession with people in the media about going to 4 quarters. I kind of like the halves. I think it makes the sport a little bit different. I know for game flow purposes, it maybe would make things feel smoother, feel quicker. I don't know. I mean, listen, I've watched college basketball for 30 years. At this point, I've never once thought halves as opposed to quarters is one of the 50 biggest issues that face the sport. So I know it's been a big talking point. It doesn't really interest me that much. If they do it, I'm not going to be, an 8-tweet thread talking about why it's wrong. But I don't think it's one of the pressing issues that the sport needs to, really reevaluate. So, I always say this, Nuño, I hate coming on your show and not having strong opinions on everything, but this just isn't one that fires me up that much. It really isn't.
Buddy, I feel like I don't have a lot of strong opinion. Like when I have an opinion, it's strong, but I don't feel like you have to have an opinion on everything. Here, the House settlement thing.
Give me a strong opinion. What do you got? Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Here's my thought. I'm sick of talking about the House settlement, but I feel like it changes microscopic, some micro changes daily that I feel like I have to talk about it. Here's my hot sports take. Get a bunch of dudes in a room together and discuss and figure it out, right? I know that's what they've tried to do, but actually people who have some power, appoint somebody, and I know they appointed the new czar and all this, but make these athletes employees, make it contracts, move on. I don't think it should take 10 years. Just do it and move on.
All right, so I'm going to tell you a dirty little secret that I couldn't share yesterday in Tuscaloosa. I saw Greg Byrne the night of the House settlement. The Alabama AD said it was one of the 3 most transformational days in the history of college sports. Now, Greg Byrne happened to be coming on Ryan Fowler's show yesterday directly after me. So I couldn't really say, Greg Byrne, you're full of hot air. You're full of nonsense. Don't tell Ryan Fowler I said that, although maybe he'll hear this audio. I don't know. I'm with you. Is that this is a band? All this does is put a Band-Aid on one set of problems and create a new set of problems. Listen, David, again, you and I are not lawyers. We're not economists. We're not whatever. But we all know the only way to truly stop this, the only way to truly fix this is to make college athletes employees, have a union, negotiate, a salary cap, if you will. The $20 million is great, and I do think it takes a little bit of burden off the day-to-day booster. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what school it is. If you want to go over that $20 million budget, there's nothing anyone can do to stop you. And the second that this Deloitte-based third party tries to stop a Texas Tech booster, an Arkansas booster, a Texas A&M booster, a UConn booster, this isn't school specific. The second this Deloitte place tries to stop a school or a booster from paying an athlete what we believe that athlete is worth, they're going to be right back in court. And so when Greg Byrne came out and said this is one of the most transformational days in college sports, I think it sort of helps the problem, but I actually think it creates more problems because all you're doing is putting an artificial cap on earning opportunities for these athletes, which is exactly why we ended up in this exact situation to begin with. And so I'm with you. We have to talk about it. It is significant, but this be-all, end-all elixir that the powers in college sports want to make it sound like it is, I just don't see that happening.
AT, great stuff as always, brother. Thanks for making time.
No problem, man. Sorry we couldn't make it work quicker. We'll talk next week.
Take care. AT here on TexAgs Live. We'll hit a break here right now. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. In today's fast-paced world, Caldwell Country Chevrolet brings that car buying experience to your fingertips. You can browse their constantly updated inventory, get a feel for what they have on the lot. You can make your way to the lot, and you're going to love it. You can do all this stuff from the comfort of your home. And recognize this. Caldwell Country Chevrolet is a proud supporter of Aggie athletics and also numerous local charitable organizations. They're deeply invested in our community, and when you shop with them, you're shopping with a business that gives back. If you're ready to experience the difference, make that short drive to Caldwell. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryant, to the beginnings of Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and you do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell. Online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. All right, guys, let's talk about some new partners, Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. They're Aggie owned and operated. They are an mobile IV hydration company that was founded back in 2024. I met with Sheldon and Danny over the last week, and they're awesome people. They really know what they're doing. They're proud to serve Bryan College Station with awesome services like IV hydration, Botox, and even some weight loss options. Whether you're looking for a quick boost of hydration or dehydration preventative, they can tailor an IV cocktail specific to your needs. And on a busy weekend, I know some of you guys might be partying a little bit too much. If that's the case, an IV can be one of the easiest ways to ensure you're receiving all those necessary vitamins and minerals that make you feel better. Their overall mission is to bring a more personalized and accessible wellness option to the broader range of clientele here in the Bryan College Station and Brazos Valley area. To book an appointment or inquire about it, just call them up or text them. 979-217-1561. Again, it's Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. Check them out. It's our friends at Aggieland Hydration and Injectables. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. Cameron Wolfe, NFL Network. And I got to say this because I got some interns in studio, Cam. There was a time that you interned for me, right? So what I'm saying is good things can happen if you're very talented, even if you work with me. What's up, man? Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
What's going on, brother?
There he is. Hey, man. How you been?
Yes, sir. I'm great, man. I definitely remember that time, 10, 12 years ago. I was at University of Houston just trying to figure out if I can make it in this industry. And you were lucky enough to have me shadow around you like a cat. And I learned a bunch. So I appreciate you, man.
No, I appreciate you. Love watching your growth. Let's talk about Devon Achane for a second. And I know I say it wrong. It's just a muscle memory. Achane, yeah. I know Mike McDaniel recently said that he expects a huge year. You're at Dolphins camp all the time. What can you tell me about Devon and his growth with that organization?
Yeah, I think that he's going to have an incredible year. Fantasy football fans, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up top 5 running back, because of just all that he can do within this scheme. You guys know at A&M how fast he was, but it's been interesting to just see his evolution as a complete running back. I think the question coming out of college was always his size. Can he handle the workload? And so far, last year, he played 17 games. All 17 games, stayed healthy, had over 1,500 yards, and really showed that he could be that workhorse back. And this year, that's the expectation. They had a Raheem Mostert last year who was sort of sharing the reps with them. He's gone. And now it's Achane's backfield. And I've watched him in OTAs and mini camps, and he looks like a guy that's ready to take over this offense. I know we talk a lot about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, but to me, he could certainly be one of those guys where defensive coordinators focus on him as the number one guy to stop with this Dolphins offense rather than those other two guys I mentioned.
Talk to me about the culture in that locker room. I heard Tua talk about it. I know what kind of guy Devon is. I know what Tua is. So, there's a different vibe this year, though. What is different?
Look, the reality is there was a perception and even some reality that this team was soft in certain elements of last season. They performed poorly against playoff teams, poorly in December and January when it counted, and they were seen as a team that they put up video game numbers when the offense is on, when it's hot outside in Miami, but when it gets cold and you're playing in the playoff months in New York and KC, you could break them. And I think that is something they are trying to change. I talked to Achane earlier this offseason, and he said, we've heard that. We've heard the soft. We've heard all the talks. And we just want people to keep that same energy and keep those same words in the mouth when we're coming about next year. So they're taking it personally. They're trying to have this little underdog mentality, whether it's real or not, to try to say, hey, people don't believe we have it to make it. And, the start of it is changing some people on the roster. They let some people go. They're in the midst of trading Jalen Ramsey. And the idea is they're going to have new leaders, younger leaders come in and try to reshape the identity. Right now, it's all words. We'll see what it looks like in September, but they know they need to change to have the success they need in the playoffs.
Ken, what are they saying about Shamar Stewart leaving the Bengals? I'm sure you've been hearing a lot of stuff. Yeah. I was making a case for Shamar yesterday based on the newest intel over the last week that has come out, and it feels like it's starting to move in that direction.
Yeah, it's getting a little messy. I'm not going to lie to you. The rookie contracts are structured in that we don't have holdouts. And I'll say this. I understand Shamar's point. They're trying to change something. Cincinnati's trying to change something they haven't done. Last year, they drafted the kid 18th overall, and they didn't add any of these voids into his contract. And so they're trying to make Shamar the guinea pig for something you're trying to change going forward. I understand why he's trying to make a stand. Now, should he have called out the owner the way he did? I don't know if that was the best route I make as I'm trying to make multi-million dollars for a franchise that I'm getting drafted to. But the reality is Cincinnati has historically been known as a little bit of cheap in their contracts, a little bit behind the times in how they've done things. We've seen how things have gone in the past with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow and now Trey Hendrickson. It's just always so messy. And so the goal here is Shamar, you want him to get reps. You want him to get development. And so year one, he can actually have an impact. And this is only slowing down that development. He obviously left minicamp now, and the earliest we'll see him is training camp. And so deadline spur action, training camp's the next moment. I think they'll get this done, but right now it's just two sides staring at each other and nobody wants to budge.
Are you hearing anything on Von Miller and his future?
Yeah. He's going to wait till closer to training camp. He's got some interest. People asked him to come in potentially for the minimum. He's a guy who's Hall of Famer. You're going to have to pay a little bit of money there. So I think at this stage of his career, he's a situational third down pass rusher. He'll come in and play for a Super Bowl contender for less than he made last year, but I think he'll find a home sometime in late July.
And then what do you think life's going to look like for the Browns? I'm more concerned with Myles Garrett, but they made one of the worst trades in NFL history, and
sure.
I don't think I don't think Deshaun's ever going to be back. But Myles Garrett got the new contract and playing at the highest level possible.
Yeah, the big story about the Browns is what's going on with Shedeur Sanders and how they're going to handle this quarterback situation. Everything that evolves around the Browns is do they have enough offense? We know what Myles Garrett and that defense, they're going to be good enough. They added Mason Graham. I was there in the draft week when everything went around. Their whole idea is we're going to build this as a really strong defensive front, defensive line, and we're going to find that quarterback, whether development or next year. And so I think Myles Garrett is going to have an incredible year. Obviously, he got the new big bag, and there's always an internal motivation for him to prove that to TJ Watt, to all these other dudes, that I'm still king. I'm still the guy that you fear when defenses, you talk about top defensive players. And so I think he'll benefit from the rookie they drafted, Mason Graham, playing inside, maybe get a little bit less double teams than he had before if you get some internal push. And that defense is going to bounce back from where they were last year. They struggled in the secondary, and I think they'll be better on third down and turnovers, and we'll just see what happens at quarterback.
Ken, we got about a minute left, if that. Texans, you think they did enough? I know they did some nice things with Christian Kirk and Nick Chubb, but offensive line was a question. They redid it.
Still a big question. Still a big question. They got rid of some guys that weren't very good, brought in some guys that weren't very good, and right now they're just moving chairs on the Titanic a little bit. I'm still skeptical that they have enough in that room, but the big thing that gives me confidence, I think C.J. Stroud is a heck of a player, and I think he's going to have a comeback from where he was last year, and I think that's going to help them even as they work through their youth of the O-line.
Hey, Cam, before I let you go, get any good Cuban coffee recently?
Not recently, but it's almost that time. Training camp comes around in July, and I need to be able to go. So Cafecito is the only way to go out here in South Florida.
That's right, man. Thanks so much for your time. We'll talk soon, all right?
Appreciate you, David.
Cameron Wolfe, NFL Network, one of the best out there. We'll hit a break here. When we come back, Peter Burns of the SEC Network. We'll do Around the SEC with Peter, get his thoughts on everything happening. It is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jeweler. All right, we're back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for Around the SEC, brought to you by the Jackster Group. We go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. It's a NASCAR show. Peter Burns of the SEC Network joining us. PB, this might be a first that we've done Zoom on TexAgs. I don't know if we've done Zoom before.
I was going to say, I wouldn't put me on camera either, so I don't blame you, honestly, at this point. So no, man, it's fun. I'm in my palatial room, which is a joke over here in Omaha. It's like a little jail cell here for the next basically 10 days, where we only got 2 teams in this year, man. It's weird. First time since 2016 we haven't had at least 3 teams out here in Omaha.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that. Like, I find it interesting. Look, I know the SEC hasn't had the year that we've come to expect, but the year we've come to expect, and I'm talking about for all sports, right? But the year that we've come to expect is almost impossible, right, Peter? Like, you got 2 teams from the SEC in the College World Series, more than everybody else. You won the national basketball or the college basketball national championship. Football, yeah, Big Ten won again, but like football was right there, right? How do you kind of categorize the SEC as a year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously basketball was that good. I mean, softball, you would go back and look at it, and I've talked about it too, David, is the fact that football was the weakest of the national sports, which is wild to think about. You know, when you had that run from Florida back in like 2007 all the way to, I mean, really since Ohio State or Michigan had won it. It was, you had a 1 or 2 years we had Clemson, but outside of that, the SEC reigned supreme. And I think what it is part of the changing of the guard as far as, name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, where it used to be you could have Nick Saban go ahead and have his 3rd string linebacker is going to be a future NFL guy. And now that 3rd string linebacker doesn't want to wait. They want to go out there and play as a freshman. They want to go play somewhere. They want to go transfer as opposed to kind of, just being part of the depth. And Kirby Smart was, has heard a little bit of that as well, too. I mean, pre-transfer portal, or when it was so prevalent, Kirby had the same mentality as Saban. So I think football has, I wouldn't say it's hurt. It just created more parity to where, the haves and the have-nots are not that big of a jump because all of the schools in this conference care about football. You go back and look at the Big Ten, and there's probably 4 teams that really, truly, are all in on football, maybe 5, out of their 18 that they got in that conference now or whatever, that the rest of it, kind of just are seat fillers right now. So, I mean, SEC football is still going to be good, but the problem is you're going to have a bunch of people kind of beating up on each other right now.
Talking to Peter Burns here on TexAgs Live. PB, what do you think about this Arkansas-LSU matchup? Because I hate that we're getting it this early. I mean, if you're a baseball fan, that's going to be the one to watch.
Yeah, and I talked to NCAA people last night. They're like, the fact that this game is going to be the night game over at 6 p.m., like, it's just, I mean, I've already gone over to Rocco's and talked to them. Like, the Jello shot deal is going to be out of control. Like, they had to go call in a different manufacturer for Saturday, simply because there's going to be so many people on that part. So thank goodness it wasn't like a 1 p.m. game. But that's just the way that the bracket falls. I've heard people say, "Oh, they should reseed." I'm like, no, man, that's how you do it in March Madness. You don't reseed it. So, allow Murray State to have an opportunity rather than Murray State, who's really the dark horse here and kind of the Cinderella story, to have their opportunity. And if Arkansas has to beat LSU, well, sooner or later they're going to have to play them somewhere. So you might as well see the best of the best. You'll see Zach Root versus Cade Anderson more than likely in the first round. And that's 2 Friday night starters. LSU is set up really well for super regionals. They'll have some success here, but man, Arkansas, David, I mean, you go back and look at 2018 where they missed a pop-up. Like, there's not a college baseball fan. You can hate Arkansas all you want, but you got to love and respect the man that Dave Van Horn is. And for Arkansas to win it, it would be 6 straight SEC teams that have won it with 6 different programs. It'd be, I mean, you look at LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and then it would be Arkansas. It'd be unbelievable.
Talking to Peter Burns here on TexAgs Live. PB, it's been a couple weeks, but let's just get your thoughts on A&M baseball. Obviously, hugely disappointing season. Moments of brilliance, honestly, like, the LSU series, the Arkansas series, the Tennessee series. Then the Missouri series happens, and it kind of goes out the wayside. But considering that Coach Early's making some changes, he's coming back for another year, and how they played against top teams, What do you think about the future of Aggie baseball here in 26?
Yeah, I think it's to be determined, right? I mean, I go back and look, and that was one of the most jaw-dropping things that I saw all season long was the Missouri series, and the fact that this Missouri team hadn't won. And again, you can lose one game because you're just kind of asleep at the wheel. But when you get swept, and really that last game was almost a run rule, I'm like, did this team quit? Were they done? I mean, I know, listen, they were banged up. They were injured, all season long. But, I think the most important thing is when I saw Jace come up at SEC baseball tournament and go to bat for Michael Early, I'm like, all right, there is some love, there's some passion for those players. And that's one of the reasons why he was considered for that job. You absolutely give him another year to kind of get it right. But, A&M is one of those programs that I've covered here in Omaha. And that's the expectation, and that's the fans expect it, the players expect it, the facilities are good. So, to me, you give him another year, and you just end up hoping for the best.
Are you sick of House settlement talk as a talk show host, as a studio analyst?
Yeah, it just again, it's. Like if you're in this like little niche part of the media, you kind of enjoy it because it gives you something. I feel bad for Ross Dellinger because every single damn article he has to write has like, here's the latest update. I'm in Washington, D.C. for this trial deal. Sometimes I don't really want to know how the sausage is made. Like whenever I go to a fast food restaurant, I don't want to be in the kitchen. I just want to give me my food and let me go on with my life. So, at least the coaches just want some damn clarity. And I think that's the biggest deal right now. I mean, they're in D.C. right now, just trying to figure out if they can get some kind of national standard. And I'm like, all right, well, just tell me when it's done. That's all I care. And I mean, the state-by-state idea is just an absolute cluster F. But hopefully, we get a little bit closer to some type of answer for college sports.
It's probably hard to ask you this while you're in Omaha, but in a month we'll be in Atlanta. You ready for that circuit to come?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm more excited about it this year than a lot of years because it felt like we are collectively, even as college football fans, are more in the dark about individual teams than we ever have before. You're a little bit different because you guys are boots on the ground there in College Station, but SEC and college football fans, for the most part, they didn't get a chance to go to practice. There's not a lot of coverage on it because the coaches don't want to put out a bunch of information. A lot of these teams didn't do spring games. So this will truly be the first time that we can ask coaches about their teams because normally we found out a lot about their teams in spring ball. There was a lot of coverage. We saw the depth charts, all of this stuff. None of that exists anymore. It's all state secrets because they're deathly afraid of this transfer portal. So I'm looking forward to it. And again, I'd be lying if I told you if I knew who was going to win the SEC. Normally I have a good feel for it. I think it's as wide open as it's ever been in probably, at least 30, 40 years.
I think part of the reason for that is you got a lot of questions in the entire conference with the quarterback, right? And also just like every year that we have the portal and guys going in and out and then Georgia and Texas losing all these guys to the draft, you don't always replenish what you lost. Programs like Georgia usually did in Alabama, but it's a different world now.
Well, and that's what it is the fact that come full circle in our conversation, how we started. It used to be the fact that Georgia, when they replenish or Texas replenish the draft, they would have, the third string guy who was great. He pops up and he plays. Now we don't know. That guy might have transferred out. And again, go back and look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss crushed it in the transfer portal last year. And guess what? It didn't enter. It didn't make a difference because it wasn't a college football playoff squad. So, I respect the teams that, like Elko, and I feel like everything I've heard from down there that he's used the transfer portal as more as a Band-Aid as opposed to like surgery, which I think is the right way to do it. Like people have to come out there and love your team and love the environment and love Aggie football. I think that's the only way that you're going to have a national championship team. Like, I just don't feel like in today's world, especially like how deep the SEC is, you can't just have mercenaries. You can have one or two players that are going to fill some spots and some roles and some depth. But if that's how you're building a team, I think you're going to have, a bunch of 8-4, 9-3 teams that won't be playoff ready.
All right, here's one for you. Who's got more pressure this year, Kalen DeBoer or Brian Kelly? Because there's a lot of pressure on both guys, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think top to bottom, it ends up being Kalen DeBoer. First game, even though Alabama's playing Florida State, it's definitely Brian Kelly versus Clemson. I mean, LSU's lost 5 straight openers. That is unacceptable. And I talked to BK a couple of weeks ago about it. I was like, dude, what are you changing everything? He's like, I will effing change everything that we can, basically. He's like, we're gonna win that game. And I mean, and that's what a coach is supposed to say at this point. And but the thing is with Alabama, for Kalen DeBoer, Alabama fans don't know what it's like to be mediocre for an extended period of time. I mean, Saban might have a year where they would go 10-2, and that was considered mediocre, but then he would bracket back with a national championship. For Kalen DeBoer, you definitely cannot backslide from 9-3. And that's if you do, buddy, that's a bad situation for everybody.
Talking to Peter Burns here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, so I know we can't really answer these questions because there's not enough information, but let's just take a stab at it.
Yeah.
Middle tier team that you think could take a step up this year, for instance, what South Carolina did last year, right? A team that, but then they became a real player at the end of the year. Who's a team in that middle tier that you're like, I'm buying stock on them potentially?
Yeah, I know it's sad. I mean, it's sad to say because I don't normally consider them middle tier, but I was down in LSU, and the amount of time that I saw in talking to Blake Baker and Joe Sloan, and I know that might be a cop-out because LSU is not considered traditionally middle tier, but I think that's a team that I think they will win that game against Clemson, and I think that they end up being an 11-1 team. I think they're that good with Garrett Nussmeier. I think defensively, Baker is going to do a great job. He's finally got his guys that he wanted, and he can call the defense that he wanted. And even Joe Sloan, I think that was a learning curve for the offensive coordinator last year to figure out what exactly everything that comes with being a play caller in the SEC. And I think it was like drinking out of a fire hydrant from year one. And I think it's vastly different coming here in year two. So to me, I know I feel like the homer here and the easy answer, but I still ultimately go to LSU until somebody shows me something different. Because, that's what I love about SEC Media Days is you can always feel like there's a different vibe around a coach. And you can tell when certain teams, I remember when, Mark Stoops one year got all pissed off in our ESPN staff meetings. And I was like, what is going on behind the scenes? And he's like, no one's giving us any type of credit. And it was that, interaction I had with him behind the scenes. It didn't even make it on camera that I was like, oh, Kentucky's going to be really good. And Kentucky ended up winning 10 games that year. So, you do learn a lot within the lines when we go into SEC Media Days over here in a couple of weeks. All
right. What perceived top tier team would you not be surprised takes a step back?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not sold on Alabama. I'll be honest with you. I think and this is almost more of an organizational thing right now. It's not Kalen DeBoer, because I think that Kalen DeBoer is a damn good coach. I think he's a great human. I think that just the structure of boosters and whatnot have always recognized that Alabama was Alabama and they had Nick Saban, so they didn't have to kick it into a different gear. And I think they always just thought, well, everybody's going to come to play football for Alabama. And now it's probably as competitive as anything. So the boosters, the collectives, the NIL dollars and stuff like that, I think they're pretty far behind where maybe a Texas is, or maybe a A&M is, an LSU, a Georgia. And I think that ultimately, it might end up hurting them. And that's why this year, I think ultimately ends up having more pressure on Kalen DeBoer, because if all of a sudden you go 8-4, that doesn't cut it out there. They're not used to that right now. So, I think Alabama is one of those teams that I look at and I circle, and I'm a little worried about, this is a kind of a teetering of where they could be as far as, where we've known them all their over the last 10 years or so.
All right, PB, last thing for you. Let's talk Texas A&M for a moment. The promising start, the unfortunate finish, injuries derailed it, but it shouldn't just be injuries, defensive issues. Elko's taken over the defense. You've got a quarterback who really I don't think gets the credit that I think he deserves for being in the situation he was put in last year. Just your thoughts on A&M.
Yeah, it's so funny because I went to the A&M game, the Las Vegas Bowl, and it was almost as if they told Marcel, like, don't run. Like, we want to see what you can do as a passer. And I was kind of seeing how he's going to develop in that way. And I think that's really going to be one of the keys coming out this year. I like Elko because he reminds me of like Teddy Roosevelt. Like he doesn't like say a whole hell of a lot. It's like he'll speak softly and carry a big stick. Like Elko's never going to win a press conference, but you just feel like he's an old school mentality football guy. I think that him getting his hands back on the defense is monstrous because I think for some guys, there's a certain like you hate giving up that power and that control of what you truly are really good at. And the fact that he's going to be back doing that, I think gives him a little bit more juice. So, but the problem is, again, I'm flying as blindly into this season as I ever have before. I could see them being all the way to a 10-2 team. I can see them being 7-5 this year. And I think that's kind of, am I wrong in that? I mean, just am I first? Is that the band of success that you would give? I mean, I don't. There's too much talent on this team to go less than 7 wins, and I don't think the schedule is, the hardest schedule I've ever seen. It's not like Florida's schedule this year. It feels like 8-4, 9-3 is if I had to really, pin something on it right now. And I think there's going to be a lot of good teams that are going to be 8-4, 9-3 of this team this year.
I'm closer to 8-4 right now, but I can make an argument for 10-2. I can make a case for 7-5. But here, just hear me out for a second.
Yeah.
When there's a lot of questions, you've got to get those questions answered, right? And I have questions about the defensive line. I don't think they're huge questions, but I have questions about the defensive line. I have questions about the defensive backs because they struggled last year. I think that it's fixed, but I got to see it. And I got questions about their road games. You got to go to Baton Rouge, where you haven't won since 94. You got to go to Texas. And you got to go to Notre Dame. Those are 3 top 10 teams. And you've struggled on the road the last few years. They won it last year twice, thank goodness, because it was years before that. But so I think about that, and then I'm like, you should win your games at Kyle Field, but South Carolina's good, Florida's good, right? These are Auburn beat you last year. So I can absolutely, and by the way, on Marcel puts you in positions to win not the South Carolina game, but put you in a position to beat Auburn, but your defense failed you. Put you in a position to beat USC, but your defense failed you. I think, and he had similar numbers to DJ Lagway. So he's got to develop as a passer, but I don't think he was the problem last year. So if you can answer those questions, I could see a 10-2 scenario, but those road games really worry me.
I would rather, if I'm Aggies right now, I would rather have the question marks on defense and have Elko as your guy, as opposed to being like, man, offensively, I just don't think that we're going to be able to do something. I mean, look at Brent Venables, right? Venables' defensive was good at Oklahoma, but offensively they were terrible. Well, how do you fix that with a defensive-minded coach who's just, not set in his ways? But I think for Elko, if you're going to say, hey, somebody's going to be able to put it together with duct tape and baling wire to figure it out when the offense is pretty good. I mean, Elko, there's a reason why he has got 2 commas in his yearly salary. You're like, he's damn good on that side of the ball. So, give him some credit for that.
PB, I appreciate you, man. We'll talk next month at SEC Media Days.
We'll see. I'm going to call this shot. I'm going to call it that it's Arkansas versus Coastal Carolina, and that Arkansas ends the side. They end up winning it all. So.
Oh, wow. But, hey, the Coastal story has been pretty fun to watch, too, man.
Oh, dude, that Murray State, we're here at the same hotel as Oregon State. Like, again, there's a lot of bucket list items, and if you never had a chance to do it, even if you don't have a team in it, but especially when the Aggies make it back, everybody has to make it. It's once in a lifetime deal.
Appreciate you, man. Enjoy the trip.
See you guys.
Yep, Peter Burns on the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with the fan show, guys. Brazos Running Company, they're located at Century Square. They're locally owned, they're Aggie-owned, and they're operated, and they're a specialty running store with an outstanding selection of all the running gear you need. Shorts, shirts, sure. How about the shoes? Brooks, On, Hoka. They're fantastic, and they will help you find the right shoe for your situation, because the right shoe makes all the difference in the world. We were talking running earlier. Your gait is a big part of the wear and tear on your body. They'll find the right shoe that fits every step of the way. They have also Viore clothing there, one of the hottest athletic brands out there. They have Duck Camp. We love Duck Camp here at TexAgs. Turtle Box speakers, Stanley Cups, excuse me. It is the Brazos Running Company located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station. Check out the Brazos Running Company. Welcome back in. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studios. Time for the
Fan Show. Everybody's favorite.
Matt Browning.
Hey, buddy.
Hey,
Good
man.
morning. How are you?
Good to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you.
Kevin Ricketts. Hello, sir.
Howdy.
How are you?
Doing good.
Believe it or not, the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, Ambry Heath, said, I love the fan show. She said it like that, too.
And I don't sound like that.
I love it.
I'll
It's
say
so
this.
good.
I get lots of compliments now. We didn't used to, but
There
now
used to be threads.
yeah, people. There was just entire threads at the. Why does this thing continue?
Why do you think it happens now? I'll tell you why.
Because we're entertaining.
No, that's not it.
What?
I've added Kevin and Dr. Chad to the mix, and it's classed up the joint.
I am carried by that.
It's not just me and Hunter and Roy anymore. It's
No.
now, we brought in some ringers. That's fine. We like it. We like it.
There's others that we've brought in as well. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Would you like to start us off with the first question of the day?
Yes. What is on your mind?
That's right.
Oh, we're gonna start with me? All right, I'll start. I want to just bring up something that I saw. I know we've got a lot going on, with in college football right now, but I actually want to just go back to baseball for just 1 second. So
you can take your time.
So the other day, Jace put his farewell message out there and everything, and I thought it was really well done. And I think we talked about this at basketball after Wade Taylor, we talked about. You asked, was Wade Taylor the best A&M basketball player of all time, right? I remember you posed that question to us. Now,
by the way, I'm AC Law.
Yeah. We all agreed it was AC Law.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Wade Taylor's or AC were better than somebody like Chris Middleton or DeAndre Jordan or something like that. But from a career standpoint,
at A&M,
I think AC Law, and then I think Wade Taylor's probably. And so it's good to recognize these guys when our goats when they come about. You don't always know they're the goat at the time until it's all said and done. But I think it's pretty easy to say that Jace is one of, if not the greatest A&M baseball player of all time. And his final season's over. He gave his farewell speech, and I just want to say, hey, you know what? Thanks, man. He did a great job. He was an awesome representative of A&M the entire time he was here. He was a stud, and I think when greatness comes and we can recognize it at the time, I think we call it out. So.
He was a part of the most successful season that the Big Three has seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, and was probably the best player. I mean, Braden Montgomery was really good on that team
Braden
too.
Montgomery was so good.
But again, we didn't get all of Braden.
Can you imagine him in the?
If he'd have been in the postseason, But again, we got Caden Kent.
Caden Kent got to tell his story,
got to come in and be a hero then. But again, Jace is the and I hate to say, home run record is the home run record.
Yep.
I mean that tells you a lot. So I just want to say that we're gonna we miss Johnny, we miss Datwin, we miss AC Law. So I think we're gonna miss Jace.
Yep.
So
Mr. Ricketts.
Yes, sir.
It's been a minute.
Yes, sir.
What's on your mind?
Football's coming, but what I really am excited about right now is I don't think we've ever seen anything happen like what Bucky has built. And again, in our lifetimes, he came in and in a very short time. And by the way, Luke's article that he wrote maybe last week summarized it very, very well. But he put together an excellent, what looks like it's going to be an excellent team, and he did it very, very quickly.
You know what he's done, Kevin, is he look, I don't know how the season's going to play out. None of us do, right? Nope. But he has made basketball an interesting conversation piece in June because we're like, man, I kind of like what they're doing, right? And it's not always the case, right?
We're rarely talking about basketball this time of year. I mean, right now it's into baseball, we're getting into football. And especially after you go from losing your coach and your entire roster.
Yep.
And we're still talking about basketball. So I agree. I think I really like what he's doing, and it's gonna be super fun.
It is.
One of the topics that came up today was A&M football in the future, next couple of years, all right? And it came from ESPN's article that has A&M as the 28th best team in the next couple of years. I don't think we need to talk about the number of where they rank on that list. It is what it is. But if you were to look at the next 2-year snapshot, all right, would you put 20 wins on that? Would you put 18 wins on it? Would you put 16 wins on it? Would it be less? Like, if you look at the next 2 years, regular seasons, let's put a number on how many wins you think are likely. Why did I say likely like that? Likely. Kind of angry. Thank you.
That's a good one.
I'd say I asked you something different. I sent you some, but it's based on the same premise, right? Like, would you be surprised if they win 9 games this year?
No.
Yes.
Would you be surprised if they won 9 games next year?
No.
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 Okay. So what do you think they're going to win? We're going to do this we're going to work backwards now. How many wins do you expect this year?
I mean, that's such a hard question too. I mean, it's like, my issue is not could they do it? Obviously, absolutely. I mean, there's talent there. Everything else. It's just I think where I am and where a lot of people that I've talked to, especially around town, we talk about this all the time, is just it's hard to keep betting on that losing horse, right? Yeah. I mean, that horse has let us down so many times, and every year he looks really good going, when they're pulling him into the gates. Sure. But we're sitting there watching, and then he just falls off, and so it's hard to really get into it and go, oh. And then you look at that schedule, especially our road schedule. Although I feel like we did better on the road this year.
We absolutely won.
We didn't have the issues, the road issues we had last year. But that's a tough schedule.
So okay, I think the number is 17. If I were to create a number, because I think 9 and 8 seems like something you could see in the next couple of years. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised higher. So do you expect 9 wins this year?
No.
You expect 8?
I expect 8.
Okay. And next year, what would you expect?
8.
I would expect.
I got to change the fan show to the anti-fan show.
I mean, again, like you said, we're not gonna blow smoke. We're telling.
Yeah, you're telling the truth.
We're giving you the pulse of the fan base at A&M. And I think that most of us, I think the majority, are optimistic but cautious. We're being cautious.
Well, I've explained my reasons for caution. But I can also spin my optimism. So my reasons for caution are you got to go on the road, 3 very dangerous. I just told this to Peter Bird, very dangerous places. You got to win at South Bend. They're going to be a top 5 team potentially. You got to go to Baton Rouge, where you haven't won since I was in high school.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Just a few years ago. And you've got to go to Austin. And I have my questions about Texas. I do. But they have a lot of talent, and the last 2 years they made the playoffs, so they've got to be in the conversation. So
do not kid yourself. That game in Fayetteville is going to be. I mean, think about. I mean, we haven't been there since Johnny.
Yeah, I think we're going to destroy them.
I love that optimism.
I think we are going to curb stomp Arkansas, but I feel like in the back I'm in the minority because I think Matthew Dawson's high on them. Luke, aren't you high on not high, but high-ish on Arkansas?
I just think Taylon Green is, you talk about quarterbacks that have experience in the league. That number is very limited, and Taylon Green has that experience.
He mentions Taylon Green having experience, right? Now, look, that's how I feel today. I'm going to watch a couple games under Arkansas, and I'm going to get scared because I get scared every game, and I'll talk to myself. But I think what happens in the offseason is people start building, right? Yeah. And you get to July 1st, everybody's going 12-0.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Like
Vanderbilt's like, dude, we got Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
We beat Alabama last year, right? Like, so we all get there.
Yeah.
But I think you guys represent how the Aggie fan base feel. And I think, and I'm part of this too, by the way, a little bit unfair because we're judging Elko on past people's mistakes. We're judging football based on the way all of A&M sports kind of floundered at the end of the year. Yep. And that's unfair, but that's what life has been like being an Aggie.
That's right.
And we're also having to battle the idea of new college football. I mean, the change, how quickly a landscape can change, in one offseason. I mean, in the past, you watch teams progress slowly as they got better, and now we're seeing teams that were really good one year be completely awful the next, and then vice versa. Teams that were really bad because of the transfer portal, because of what NIL's done, changed. And so yeah, again, it's I think there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of question marks, and so I think we like I said, the majority. They're the big pessimists and then they're huge optimists.
We're gonna switch the formula next segment, okay?
Okay.
You guys are gonna ask me questions about A&M, and I'm gonna give you the optimistic answer.
Oh,
great.
Okay. They're like whatever questions you got. Hey, what about this? If I have an optimism, if I don't, I'm not going to lie to you guys. All right?
Okay.
But I'm going to find my optimistic answer. All right, you ask me whatever. Okay?
Love it. Got it. That's a cool little trick. Yeah, let's swap it out.
If your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, you need to check out the Association of Former Students who bring Aggies of all ages together during their marquee events held throughout the year. We're talking about All Aggie Hullabaloo, Aggie Rain Day, The Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities to get your brand in front of those attendees. They offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to get your brand in front of all those attendees. That includes title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, and recognition in social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in the Texas Aggie magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, do me a favor, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. It is the Association of Former Students. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the fan show. Got the fan show, guys. All right, so I did the old switcheroo. All right, so if you guys got questions about A&M, because you got a lot of questions.
Yeah, I got a question.
I feel like I've had a lot of coffee. There's a lot of movement going on.
I have a question.
Okay.
All right.
It's Kevin Ricketts, by the way.
Last season,
yes, sir.
When we needed to stop, we didn't get it.
Yep.
We didn't get pressure on the quarterback, and our defensive secondary gave up too many long plays.
Yep.
Why is that going to change this year?
Are you familiar with the head coach named Mike Elko?
I am.
Do you know his track record as a defensive-minded coordinator?
I do.
Okay. His hands were a little bit off the defense last year. He made it his personal mission to fix the defense. I believed in that man a year ago. I believe in that man today. He's going to put his hands in the right spots, and that's why. Now, do I have questions about the defensive line because we don't have the studs that we had last year, at least known? Like, we have to see it. Cassius Howell flashed a lot for me last year. Will Lee was one of the best corners in all of college football, in my opinion. He's coming back. You've picked up some guys. You've got more experience. So you want to feel better about that defense, know that the man in charge is going to take over. If I took over Matt Browning's diet, which he's already doing a great job, do you think there would be an attention to detail that he is not like, oh, okay, this is a different level? That's why. The way I am about my diet is the way Coach Elko is about defense.
I don't know. I mean, hey.
Okay, maybe not.
Pretty,
maybe not.
I'm pretty detailed. But, no, I agree.
You don't track.
This part, I agree. This part, I don't track the calories and carbs.
Okay,
I'm trying to track my protein. I don't care
But
about
you're trying.
because it's still just falling off of me. So, but I do agree with you. I think Elko, that part, I really, there's one thing where I'm going into it from I always feel like I'm a realist. Where, I mean, hey, everyone thinks Roy's the old curmudgeon. Roy's actually pretty optimistic most of the time.
You used to be way more optimistic.
I've always been kind of a realist. I remember I'm the one with battered Aggie syndrome. I've got I've got the BAS. At least they claim I do. But no, I really do. I really truly think that. I mean, because of Mike Elko, that the defense will be improved. I think he. Yeah. And again, it took. I mean, remember our defense wasn't the best defense when he started as our defensive coordinator in 2017. I mean, it took, but by the time we got to 2020, 2019 and 2020, that was a phenomenal defense. And so, I do have faith that the defense will get better. All right, why will the offense now after losing? I mean, we're talking no Noah.
This is an easy question. Keep going.
No Connor Wegman, right? Okay. So all these 5 stars, all these guys are gone. Why will the offense be better?
Do you know who led the SEC in scoring last year?
No, who was it?
You know the answer, don't you?
I do know.
You know who led the SEC in scoring?
Tell me.
Texas A&M. So the offense is going to be better for multiple reasons. Would you like point A or point B or all the points?
I would love. I mean, I think the people would hear it all.
All right, stability at quarterback. All right, Marcel Reed was thrust into a starting role before he was probably ready, and actually did pretty well. Okay, ask Florida how he did. Okay, ask LSU how he did. Did he have some struggles? Yes, but he is going to be more seasoned with an offense that is tailored to his skills, right, and not learning on the fly. He's had the entire offseason as the guy. A, B. Are you familiar with our running back room? Are they good? Okay, Le'Veon Moss last year before he got hurt was one of the top 3 running backs in the SEC, if not the best.
He was the best.
Okay? And Reuben Owens will be completely healthy. And Amari Daniels. Okay, your running back room by default will be better, right? And I love Amari Daniels. You got other dudes too. E.J. Smith actually showed me something in the bowl game. So you got that. That's 2. The offensive line, the most tenured offensive line in the SEC, and I think in college football it's going to be one of them. Okay? You got those guys coming back. You want me to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Wide receivers. Losing Noah Thomas hurts. You actually have people that can get open now. That's not a shot at Noah. Noah was very good at finding the ball in the air and making plays, right? But you've got Mario Craver, who's faster than fast. You've got Casey Concepcion, who's faster than fast. You've got and some of the youngsters apparently I have not watched them, but have shown so. So you've got more playmakers that can get open to give Marcel a better chance to find them to get them the ball. You got a healthy running back room, and you've got a dynamic offensive line.
All right, look at Nuño go. I love it. Now I'm fired up.
Now we're 12-0.
We're gonna win. We might win 9 games.
We might win 18 games if that's even possible. Next question. You don't have any more. You're done.
No,
you're tapped out.
I mean, I feel like we talked about offense. We talked about defense. I think it's a. I love the optimism. I mean, now
I'm not predicting 10 wins right now.
What would be a fun practice is have optimistic Nuño and then pessimistic Nuño.
Bring it. I'll change it.
One more question, though.
Yes, sir.
The best college football teams are the ones that have the receivers that can take over a game when they need it. Do we have that?
I don't know yet. I don't know. But I also think the best teams are good at the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And I think the offensive line is going to be real. Like, let's break down last year for a second. Texas, they blew up our offensive line. They were better, right? Their defensive line was better. And their offensive line was pretty darn good, right? By the way, they're having to replace some of that this year. So it's about, to me, the line of scrimmage. And do you need to have the best quarterback in college football to win? No. Look at the last couple of years. J.J. McCarthy was really, really good. I don't know if he would be the best quarterback in college football. Last year, Ohio State did not have the best quarterback in college football. So do I think A&M needs to have the best even in the SEC? No. But if Marcel Reed gets to 6, 7-ish range, I think we saw what he looks like at his best. At his best, he's one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the. What he did against LSU was the highest of highs, right? What we saw in a half.
It was awesome.
So,
but when we needed 4th and 1, we didn't get it last season. Why will we get it this season?
I'm glad you asked that. Are you familiar with Le'Veon Moss?
That was the problem.
Right? Look,
early, I will say,
I didn't like some of the play calling either. I didn't.
Right.
No. The early part of the season, we got those 4th and 1s with Le'Veon. The short yardage, I thought we were pretty good. It's towards the end of the season when Le'Veon wasn't there was when we struggled with that. And so,
but to be good, right, you have to be beyond Le'Veon.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be beyond that. And so I like the idea. So I'll tell you what gives me a little optimism, too, is that receiver room, because it's by far our biggest question mark. Well, if you go back and look at Texas last year, they had the same deal. Going into last season, they had a pretty much brand new receiver room, too. All a bunch of transfers.
Yep.
What's his name from Alabama came over. I mean, so they had kind of a similar deal, and their receivers were really good. So that is a possibility to have that question mark answered pretty quick, and I'm hoping that they're just electric. I'm hoping they're as electric as we think they're going to be, because that would be a game changer for us, I think. So, I mean, I agree. I'm cautiously optimistic about the receiver room because, again, we haven't had. You're exactly right. We haven't had receivers like this. We haven't had the speed guys. And I mean, really, who is the fastest receiver we've had in the last 10 years?
So Billy reminded me of this. You guys know what Kirby Smart's record was his first year at Georgia? Remember, Mark Richt won like 10 games all the time and got fired. 9 and 10 games.
Yeah.
Kirby's first year was 8-4.
Yeah.
You know what Sark's first year at Texas was?
Oh, 5-11, yeah.
5-7.
5-7, yeah.
Elko went 8-4, 8-5, considering the bowl game, with a team that I think was flawed from the prior regime, and a team that lost their best offensive player. So if you want to be optimistic, and I know a lot of folks don't, like BTTS here says, I expect 8-4, but I hope for 10-2. That's kind of where I am. Mm-hmm. But I hate saying this because I don't want this to be the case. But if A&M had Missouri's schedule last year, they're 10-2.
Oh, yeah. Texas schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, Texas.
I don't know if they go 10-2 with Texas' schedule, but yeah.
I mean,
because A&M lost games to Auburn. You almost lose the right to say that when you lose to Auburn.
That's true.
And to USC.
That's true. Those were the bad ones. Those were unacceptable.
And South Carolina
was terrible.
Even though South Carolina ended up being a team that had an argument for the playoffs.
Right.
You went in there on the highest of highs. You beat down LSU in that second half. You went into that game at 7-1.
Yeah, and you were the more. I know they were good, but we were the more talented team.
Of course we were.
A lot more talent. So those were tough losses. But again, I will say this: if I'm going into it, if I'm going to look at any optimism, every year I go into it and I'm down on the Ags. Every year I'm going, this isn't going to be a good season. They end up having a great season. But every year I go into it, and go, this is it. That's when they completely let me down. So
where are you right now?
I'm staying down. I'm way down.
But it's going to be organic. It can't be fake.
Everybody.
You can't fake it.
No, it's not faking. Okay. I'm not faking.
You're not going to fake it till you make it.
I'm not faking it. I'm really not faking it. I am not. I don't see us contending right now.
Does the audience want me next week to do pessimistic Nuño or no?
Oh, that would be fun.
Would it be fun though? I think
it would be pretty depressing.
People come fight me.
Yeah, we want optimism. We come to the show for optimism, to a reason to believe why we're going to be good.
But you're not going to. Well, you don't necessarily get that from me because, like you, I try to keep it real.
Yeah, I agree.
The reason I want to be optimistic also is all the reasons you said, plus we were a very different team when Le'Veon went down.
Yep, we were a different team.
Yep.
But also the schedule got tougher. Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Going on the road to South Carolina is tough. Taking on Texas, I guess, is tough. We'll hit a break. Was your car hit by that hailstorm a couple weeks back, a couple of months back? There was a couple different ones. I know in the Metroplex, they just got hit hard on Sunday. What you need to do is not trust a pop-up tent that's just going to be gone in a couple days or already gone. You need to trust somebody who's local, that is committed to making sure that you get the best possible service. That is Classic Collision and Restoration, who specialize in paintless dent repair for hail damage. Those out-of-town pop-up tents will be gone soon, and who's going to stand behind their work? It's going to be them, not the others. The others are gone, remember. For over 25 years, customers have trusted Classic Collision and Restoration to bring back their car to showroom form. Don't get your car fixed, get it restored with Classic Collision and Restoration. They're Aggie-owned and operated. It is Doug Leopold, class of 93. Call them up, 979-779-8399. That is 979-779-8399, or online, classiccollisionrestoration.com. Anybody else getting a bunch of spam calls and text messages recently?
Yes.
Like it's like out of control.
Yeah.
You too?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, we're on the air, by the way. It's
Yeah.
fine.
It's dumb. It's I wish, and you can't. There's nothing you can do. Apparently, I've tried. I've entered all the things, the block stuff. None of it works.
Hey, we're TexAgs Live, I promise. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Brian Broadcasting, killing it with the music today. Great job, guys. All right, let's close out with a couple things. I gave you guys a task. We'll see if you did any research. Who is the best player you think A&M's going to play in 2025?
Got this.
It's hard to say. It could be Sellers at South Carolina.
Okay, I hope not.
Yeah, he's good.
Why am I moving?
Say again. DJ Lagway. I think he could.
He could be
special.
He could.
And probably the most interesting one to watch because of all the hype surrounding him is Arch Manning.
Yeah.
I hope he's not as good as
somebody did their research. Yeah.
Yeah. Hope he's not as good as the hype would indicate, but it'll be interesting to watch that.
I think the best player we'll face this year is Cam Coleman. I think he's just unreal.
We looked at his stats yesterday. He only had 2 touchdowns against A&M. I thought he had 3. He only had 2.
I thought he had 3 too. I thought he pulled a Larry Fitzgerald on us.
134 receiving yards.
And he was committed. That's the hard. I think that might be one of the hardest parts because we had him.
Buddy, you know how many times I can tell you that? No. We had Harold Perkins.
Oh yeah.
We had Cam Coleman.
Yeah.
The lineman that went to
Hosea Scott.
Yeah.
You know? That was a good one. But no, Cam Coleman is an absolute beast, dude.
The other guy is Garrett Nussmeier. He's a really, really good quarterback. He's very accurate.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him. I mean, I'm sold on him when he has time to throw.
Yeah.
When he doesn't, I'm not, because we saw the bad version of him against A&M.
We
so
did.
Hopefully we see that a lot. Gentlemen, great job.
Thanks, David.
Thanks. Even you, Brownie.
I appreciate it, buddy.
Kevin, come back more often.
Will do.
That's going to do it for the TexAgs Fan Show and TexAgs Live. Tomorrow on the program, Billy Lucci, Brian Corton. I know we'll have somebody else. I just haven't booked it yet. It's TexAgs Live.